Hey everybody. Again, I was almost late for my own stream, but I have a very good reason for that. Today it's just not me messing around. Steve and I had a very distressing um, afternoon. We lost our old man Basset Hound of 6 years, and you guys are probably thinking, "Well, what in the hell are you doing on the stream tonight?" Well, that's how I deal with bad things happening is just to stay busy. Hey Texas, and I considered for half a second messaging TJ and telling him, "Hey, can we put this off a week?" And he might have said, "Oh, cool, we don't have to do this for 1 week." But then I thought, well, hey, Dana, just go ahead and do it. And it'll keep you busy for a little while longer. And because I know I've been kind of sad, but I'm thankful that I was working from home. And so I was here with Brandon when he passed. And it wasn't like me and Steve were both gone to work outside the home. We came home and found him. I knew he wasn't doing well this morning. He basically never woke up. It was almost like he was in a some kind of semi coma. I think he raised his head up one time today, and then I would go between phone calls that I was making at work and stuff. I would go because I had him in the kitchen in his bed. Um, I would go and check on him every few minutes, and after one of the phone calls I took, I walked in there to check on him, and he was gone at that point. So I don't want to bum anybody out. I want to thank everybody that gave condolences, both in here and people been messaging me on Facebook this afternoon because Steve was quicker than I was about putting something up about Brandon. So I have put something up about him now because he was a good dog. We've had him for 6 years, and he was 10 or 11 when we got him, so he's pretty well up there. But I feel like he had a good life, and at least he didn't have to stay in foster care or stay in a shelter. For the latter part of his life, he was able to live with a family. And I guess that's the most important thing. But I promise I'm not going to continue to make people sad. We're going to get started talking about the first half of the episodes of season 3 of Monsters. And I'm not sure what TJ's going to say. But, I wasn't impressed with too many of these episodes. I'm guessing by the third season, it was starting to slide off the map a little bit. But here in a second, we'll see what TJ says about them. And also, because of everything that went on today, I was kind of watching a lot of these episodes on fast forward so I could get the gist of them so I wouldn't be completely clueless about them. Um, Thank you, Texas. Thank you, John. Um, TJ says, I would have understood. Oh, I'm sure you would have, TJ. It's just, like I said, I would rather keep busy because I know it's really going to hit home as soon as I stop doing stuff. So I'm kind of trying to stave it off a little bit. Thank you, Darren. Okay, so um, I try not to have my phone back here, but somebody. Oh, that's my aunt asking how old Brandon was. So I can always answer her later. I may have to, well, I probably will have to get up and go out and get me my spaghetti when it gets here. I'm getting something from Fazoli's spaghetti and one of those great Italian ices that I said the other night was so good. So um, Anyway, not to delay this any longer, I've got a few things to show off real quick during the daily grindhouse. They're going to be used for the drive-in movie night, and so I'm going to go ahead and play the intro, show that, and then TJ and I will add TJ, and we'll start talking about these monsters episodes. So here we go. Okay, so stuff real quickly I wanted to show is, and if Steve knew, by the way, little disclaimer, if he finds out all this stuff I got, you guys might not see me for a while. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but he will think it's foolish to get to spend your money on stuff like this. So the first thing I got, and granted, I know there's a lot of stuff in this packet, but I'm going to be using it for all the drive-in movie nights that I do. I think this is actually for a birthday party that's like movie themed. I thought, what the hey, I'll go ahead and use it to put my food on. So we've got the bigger plates that say movie night, got the popcorn and the tickets and all that good stuff. Then we have the smaller kind of like dessert plates that say now showing on there. I didn't really realize I was getting these, but I've got more of these paper straws, these old-fashioned paper straws. And these are pretty cool napkins. They look like the little clapper things for that directors and stuff use. I don't know. I should ask TJ if he uses those when he makes his shorts. Does he say action, do all that stuff? And then we've got the little drink cups as well. So put this stuff back in the box for now. So the second thing I was going to show, and I don't know if I just messed up and ordered 2 of these or I just didn't pay attention and it came with 2 packages. But these are just little cutouts. You know, you've got a popcorn one, you've got a soda one, and you do have a hot dog one as well. But you can't really see that in the package. It's covered up. But you can see there at the top if you want to know what all of them look like. So I actually got 2 of those. And like I said, I don't know if I just mistakenly ordered 2. Thankfully, they weren't that expensive, or it came with 2 packages of 3. So the last thing, and I didn't notice until I actually got this in, that, I mean, it looks sort of like the old drive-in movie concession stand signs that you would see when you would go to the concession area. But it's also got other things that you might see at a diner. But I think mostly what I'm going to be concentrating on is the hot off the grill things where it says cheeseburger. And look at these prices, guys. Cheeseburger, 45 cents. Grilled chicken, 35 cents. We ain't going to see these prices anymore. Steak, 50 cents. I mean, you ain't going to get steak for 50 cents. I know that. You know, sodas, 10 cents. Teas, 10 cents. Coffee's 10 cents. Slices of pie for 25 cents. I just think this is really cool too, retro thing. You could get biscuits and gravy for 25 cents. Soup of the day, 25 cents. So anyway, that's just a cool thing that I'm going to use to decorate with for the drive-in movie nights. And I hope you guys are all excited about the drive-in movie nights that are going to be coming up. It's a test run because the last drive-in is going on hiatus for a few weeks, for about 4 weeks, and then they will be back, I believe, June 23rd. So in the interim, and again, guys, I haven't been asked by Shutter or the last drive-in specifically to do this. This was something that I came up on my own, and I didn't want anybody to think I had like an inside track with Joe Bob and Darcy or Shutter or anything like that. So, oh, cool, Texas. I really would like to go to Vegas for the jamboree, the drive-in jamboree they're having. But I think I'm just going to have to get a T-shirt because I don't know, Texas, if you're part of the Lost Drive-In Patreon that Darcy heads up, but she sent a notice to everybody that I think if you've been a Patreon member for at least a year, I think you're getting a free jamboree, one free jamboree ticket. And if you aren't able to go to the jamboree, I think you're getting a jamboree t-shirt. So I imagine the t-shirt is what I will be getting. But I think that's really cool that you're gonna probably be going. TJ, you say I watched the last drive-in and tweet during they should give me stuff. LOL. Yeah, they really should. Do you tweet with Darcy or do you like just tweet, to like kinky horror, I think is what she is on Twitter. Um Hey, Blissful, thank you for the condolences. And TJ also said, by the way, all of season 3 of Monsters is on YouTube. Well, until the bots take them down. Yeah, exactly. Uh, and evidently the bots have been pretty crazy lately. And my mouse is acting up all over the place again. I don't know why. There it goes. Um, And Blissful, you like the drive-in stuff I've got? Well, thank you. Yeah, that would be cute in my kitchen. And actually, since I painted the walls Blissful, that sign would match my color scheme in the kitchen perfectly. But Steve, if I did it, Steve would probably make me take it down because he would probably say it was tacky or something. And you guys are probably wondering, well, why does he have say so about the kitchen? Because more than likely I'm in the kitchen more than he is, right? Unless he's just in there just to get food. But he's funny that way. John, you say I finally caught up on Joe Bob. Loved his latest episode on the mutilator. I did too. Did you watch Possession, John? I'm just wondering how many people watched that. I watched parts of it and I was like, holy cow. I just don't know what to think about this movie. TJ, you say all the hashtags and all the links, LOL. That is extreme multitasking, Blissful. Yeah, John, I do too. You say I honestly respect Darcy now. She really does help him out. I was so annoyed by her at first. You know, the first episode of the last drive-in, or when they were doing the movie marathon and Joe Bob introduced her, I was really excited, and then I was annoyed by her too, and I have apologized to her publicly when I did I think when I did the Joe Bob's Mail Girls stream. And she saw that and she was like, "Oh, it's totally okay." And she understood and all that. But now, I mean, dare I say it, she's my favorite male girl now that he's ever had, just because Darcy really interacts with the fans. And I think part of the big reason why that is because she was a fan of Joe Bob and the shows that he did, like Monster Vision, before she, signed up to be the male girl. TJ, you say, yeah, John, I didn't watch Possession yet from last week's Last Drive-In. Um, oh, so John didn't either. Heard it's a strange movie. It is very strange. Oh, TJ, you have a life. We'll have to get on you when you get on here. Um, yeah, Texas. She is a huge AEW fan. You say she's tweeted you during the show and retweeted me a few times. Yep, me too. Blissful says, TJ, don't make me bite you on the ankle. To which TJ says, Bliss, you can't get me from there. Ha ha. I wouldn't put it past her, though, TJ. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and add TJ. Hey, TJ, or brother TJ.
Hey, everybody.
What kind of shirt we got on tonight, TJ? Ah, cool. I like it. I need that shirt.
I don't know if Fright Rag still prints them or not.
They may not. Maybe that's one that I can say, can you reprint it? And occasionally they do reprint stuff.
So I got my 3D shades. This is to give good vibes to Garrett, so his channel gets back on track.
Yes, good deal. Yeah, poor Garrett. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on with YouTube. It's like that they went haywire or something. I mean, of all the people you could demonetize, why would you demonetize Garrett?
Yeah, I mean, YouTube makes no sense. I mean,
I mean, and for the life of me, I can't understand what kind of content he would possibly have on his channel that goes against their guidelines.
He may never find out. It's never,
No.
Like he said, he did a stream that one of those nights, and he's like, yeah, they don't tell you anything. They just go, hey, you could do this, or you could do that, but that's not a.
Oh man, it's just a mess. I'm just counting down the days until they take the rest of us out. Because I figured Garrett. I mean, I considered Garrett very popular. I mean, he has a lot of subscriptions. A lot of people partner with him and do things with him. He's got all the, he's got the Rad Pack stuff and all of that. And he's got connections with Dead Pit and all of that. And I'm just thinking, how long before, I think Dead Pit's worried, that they're going to get them. I mean, Pizzow's another one that's really popular. I mean, there's several people that got a, pretty decent thing going. And I don't know. It's like, who's next? We don't know who's going to be taken out next by the YouTube police.
Well, meanwhile, you have all those viewing YouTube channels where they're watching movies and stuff, and they put clips from the movies, and it's like, I know they go through a whole process, and sometimes they have to submit it a couple of times for because they have to tweak it and delete stuff and take out music or whatever. But there's still a bunch of them doing pretty well and gaining followers, and nothing really seems to happen to them that at least what they say. I mean, of course, not all of them are going to tell you what happened because not everybody's going to be that open about it. But like people have like 5 million, subscribers are like.
And people tell you, and even YouTube will tell you, it's like it's an automatic thing, a thing that checks for certain algorithms. But then you see, just like you said, TJ, you see other people, they got a ton of subscribers, and it's almost like there's some kind of favoritism going on. I mean, do they know something that the rest of us don't know? Do they know somebody at YouTube that's kind of letting them, do whatever? Because I just point blank am going to quit doing, I'm not going to put trailers on anymore. I probably more than likely not going to do any clips. I know one video I did recently, and I'm surprised they didn't say something about it, or they haven't yet, that I had just a snippet of the Lost Boys at the beginning of it, where the grandpa was talking about, we got some rules around here. And that was basically the only thing. But I figured they'll probably get me for putting that on there. But, so far they didn't.
Yeah.
But I
Well, it's
guess,
mostly music that music gets people in. That's what mostly gets people in trouble. Whether it's a background music or a song, or even if it's like you can barely hear it, the bots pick it up, and I
pick it
mean,
up.
they'll immediately take it down. And like I was just putting up something on my thing just to send somebody a video, and I could the file was too big, so I just uploaded it just to keep it private, just to show somebody, and I wasn't putting it up on the air, and the bots immediately like, oh, there's some music on there. Like, you're not in trouble. You're just something might happen if you
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
leave that up there or don't try to fix it. And I was like, I'm not even putting it out for anybody to really. And I was
Yeah,
gonna, it would have shut. It was unlisted, like whatever.
yeah. It doesn't even matter if you have it unlisted or
Mm.
private. It just, I guess they're just scared it's going to get out there. I don't know. They did the same thing to me over. Gosh, oh, it was the Twin Peaks. The just using the opening credits for Twin Peaks.
Oh
They
yeah.
said something could happen to your channel. And so I was like, well, what the hell? I'm just going to go in there and take that off of there. I mean, it was just at the beginning of it. I wasn't going to risk it. So I said, no more of that. And then they didn't cut my stream completely off. It was like they paused my stream, and I ought to known better, and I won't do it anymore. But I had a clip from American Bandstand. And you know how sometimes in the back of your head you think, I shouldn't be doing this. And bam, they like they paused the stream. And
Mm.
as soon as that clip quit playing and I didn't play anymore, they brought the stream back and everybody was able to
Mm.
finish up watching me. So I
Yeah.
said, no more Dick Clark Productions, no more American Bandstand.
No, there's certain things that like you should go. Oh, this is definitely something that would be picked up. Um,
Mm,
well, I had a short reaction on my YouTube, and it was just like a minute, and it was up there for a few weeks, and then or like a month or whatever, and then I got whoa, this is a copyright infringement. You're not in trouble, but decide whether or not you want to keep it on. We're taking it down.
yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're not in trouble. Don't worry about it. It's not going to affect your channel or whatever. And I was like, okay, then why was it sitting there for that long and not getting noticed? But that's just how it is. The bots don't get it. They'll eventually get to somebody somewhere. I know there's
The
a
thing about the American Bandstand clip, that was not being used by Dick Clark Productions. It wasn't being used by his estate or anything. It was just some regular Joe that had put it on there, and they let them keep it on there. But by golly, if I use one part of it, dang, I was in trouble. They paused my stream over it. So, yeah, it's craziness.
well, I know one guy, he had videos up for a couple of years, and all of a sudden he got a copyright strike, and now the videos are up there, but those specific videos are demonetized, and so like, but like, do you take them down, and does that screw up your algorithm, or you just kind of
Yeah.
just let them take the money from it and just leave them up there? And
Yeah, I don't know. I just always feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, that
Yeah.
First they do, I can't monetize my channel anyway. Um, the worst they could do to me right now, I guess, is just take my whole channel off, which would be it would be terrible now because I feel like I'm not super super popular, but I have certain people that come to my streams most of the time, and I would have to build that base up again.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like poor Garrett if he had to start from the bottom, but it would.
Or if you were curly jaws.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought maybe old Curly Jaws was mad at me or something because he hasn't been in any streams of mine. I haven't even seen him pop in here to say anything. So, but he did give us condolences about Brandon, so I figured he's not mad at me. He just must be him and Mormo must be partnering together and doing a bunch of stuff, and he's just busy.
Did he restart his channel under a different name?
I thought he did, unless they pulled it pulled it again.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Um, I can't even remember what the name of it is now because he got his channel yanked so many times. Bliss, will you say my friend had her live from yesterday blocked because of a song? I don't doubt it.
No songs. Don't put songs up.
Or don't put, anything that's a recognizable, like a, you know, classic rock song or something like that. I'm almost surprised that I can get away with the song that I'm using for my intro, but
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say.
I mean,
especially because you play the whole. Earlier, I was like, "Boy, this is a long."
Yeah, I know.
When is it over? I want to start the stream.
I probably should shorten it up, TJ, but I like that song so well.
Yeah, no, it's a good song.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the time might come when they might say, "Hey, you can't use that anymore," and in which case I'll find some copyright free music and stick that on there.
Well, I have a couple of music clips that a friend of mine owns. So if I ever, like I did was it my TikTok? Yeah, I did a thing on TikTok and I replaced the Evil Dead Rise theme with the music I had. So that way you still get the visual, but it's not the copyrighted thing because I mean they can't copyright something that a friend of mine owns that's not registered.
Right. Yeah, I have what is that thing that there's like copyright free like hard rock music. What is it? Audionautics.com, and you can find all kinds of copyright free music, and that's actually where I got the music to add to that Daily Grindhouse intro. So anyway, but
Or you could just hum off key the actual song, and then it won't get caught.
Yes. I don't think anybody wants me to do that. So I guess enough about craziness at YouTube. We'll go ahead and get started. And keep in mind, guys, I had to watch these episodes pretty much on fast forward because I've been sick with a sinus infection. So I felt so bad last night that I wanted to watch some episodes. And then poor Brandon was in the beginning stages of what happened. I know now of what happened today because he just would not lay down and he was barking and carrying on. And so I didn't get, needless to say, I didn't get much sleep. So, but it wasn't, wasn't the poor dog's fault. It was just something that happened. But anyway, so if I seem a little bit less than informational on these episodes,
If that's a word.
But hopefully TJ got to watch them more in depth than I did. I hope anyway. Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Kind of.
Okay, so the first episode is stressed environment about
Yeah.
mutant rats threaten pesticide wielding scientists in a laboratory. Pretty, I mean, it's a pretty basic story, but something about these mutant rats is a little bit different than any mutant rats we may have seen before. But I'm going to let TJ go ahead and start talking about this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the short. That's basically what it's about. Yeah, it's about this doctor scientist played by Carol Lindley, who was in the Poseidon Adventure.
Hmm.
She was the singer from the in the band who the old guy falls for, which is a creepy part of the movie. Um, but yeah, she's working on. Oh, so it starts off with this extended scene of a girl changing into her work outfit,
Oh
and
yeah,
you see some major side boob going on there. I think
yes,
you
you
actually
do.
saw a pasty. I mean, I kept looking to double check, but you saw a
Yes,
lot.
I'm sure you did, TJ.
I had to get on a magnifying glass, but oh, this is the camera. It's up there.
Well, she had
Um,
some skimpy underwear on too.
yeah, and I was like, whoa. I mean, that was a lot of boob. I mean, it's one in sideways, but yeah. So anyway, so this girl's changing for her job, and she's like the maintenance person, I guess, and she goes to check in this where they're experimenting on um, the rats, and she noticed something's plugged up, and it looks like it's like doesn't just plugged up like randomly. It's like someone deliberately had to plug it up, and she gets attacked and killed by one of the rats. And these rats are very stop motion. They're goofy stop motion. I'm sorry. Um, and yeah, very janky. Is that a word? Um,
We can use that word. Yeah.
okay. And yeah, so her like I guess her boss is like trying to squelch everything and like close down her operation. They're like, oh, we just gave this to you for like just to get you out of our hair, kind of, and just kind of to placate you. And but she basically mutated some rats, and they're very like almost human-like in their actions, and they start killing off the cast one by one with these very crude, I guess, ingenious rats. For rats, they're pretty ingenious. Like they get this giant mousetrap and they use it as like a slingshot to kill. I mean,
I was beginning to think, what are these, tribal rats or something? I mean, that's what they seem to be.
and they can make shanks and everything. Like one of them does a detailed shank out of a piece of glass with like beveled sides and the designs and everything. I was like, what are these? So the whole point is, I guess the stress environment creates new types of, or can change a species to like do something different with their lives or whatever. So yeah, I mean that's the gist of it. A lot of people get killed. Surprise! Right now, to let you know, the rats win in the end. They trick the scientists. They trick her into thinking that they're surrendering because one of them puts down he's sort of, I guess he's the leader. He puts down his spear that he's made because she's about to she gives him a choice. She's like, you either kind of work with me and you put down your weapons, or she has this gas that is going to kill them, and they trick her into taking off her mask and putting the poison aside, and then they end up killing her. And she almost says clever girl, but this was before Jurassic Park, so they didn't come up with it.
She should have been smart.
It was in 1990. All these the rest of these episodes are 1990. So
yeah, like I said earlier, these episodes There were maybe 2 or 3 standout ones, and I'm gonna, talk about those when we get to them. But, it just seemed like, for the great special effects they had during the 2nd season, um, they must have spent all their money or something. They were running out of money by this time
They
because
siphoned off the budget.
they said, you're not getting this much this year. Sorry about your bad luck. And so we have mutant rats that really look maybe just a step above going to the Halloween shop and getting those rubber rats.
And
And
they make a weird squeaky
yes.
noise. Like,
So not I was not impressed by this episode. I kind of thought it was a little funny at times when the rats showed up, especially. But
the acting was fine. I mean,
yeah, the acting was fine in it. That
Carol Lindley has a specific way she speaks, which kind of not mumbling, but like I don't know, maybe her teeth get in the way of certain things she says. But
but I guess the big thing, the big highlight for you males watching this
a
episode,
lot of left
boob.
side boob, or yeah, depending on what side you're
Because I
looking at.
wasn't impressed with that. I was just like, holy cow, how'd they get away with this?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking.
There's a lot of that stuff and I really didn't remember all the skin being shown and like
It was prolonged because the dude in the office is staring at her, so we're seeing it basically through his view through
yeah.
the camera. But I'm like, okay. And then the doctor's like looking at him like, you're a woman. Why don't you stop that instead of letting him glare at the girl who's
Yeah,
right in front of
I
you?
don't
Like,
think she
okay.
said anything to him, did she? She just gave him
No,
a look and went
no,
on.
she said nothing.
Yeah, so not real impressed with this episode. I don't think TJ was either.
It's whatever. It's fine.
It's just meh. It's not.
I mean, you watch it once, maybe twice, but just to look at the rats and go, what kind of Evil Dead melting book from the first movie, but not as good crap is this? Actually, there's an old, I don't know if it's 60s or 70s British show called Bagpuss, and it's like a cat that toys come to life in this little shop, and it's like it's that kind of weird animation. Like, look it up and you tell me if that's not the same animation in this. But anyway,
exactly. So I guess we talked about that one
yeah, we're done with
that. As we need to. Which brings us to Murray's Monster. Which
I like this one. This one's good.
I did like this one, and I thought that this one was a lot more funny than it was dark.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This one was a very light episode, but my food is here, so I'm gonna go grab it and let TJ start off talking about Murray's Monster.
Okay. Starts off with psychologist Dr. Sherwin, and played by Joe Flaherty from SCTV. He did the vampire guy from SCTV, if everybody remembers that guy. And he's bored with his life, and he hates his boring patients, and his wife drives him crazy. She keeps feeding him like she's very health conscious type of thing. Oh, they do yoga, and she makes farfel all the time. It's like her big dinner. And he spends time hitting on his secretary, played by Teresa Genzel, who was in Transylvania 65000. She played like the woman Jeff Goldblum liked in that movie. I don't know if anybody's seen that. Yeah. The wife is played by Miriam Flynn, who played. She was in Vacation. She played the cousin, the wife, and She was in a comedy I like called It's National Lampoon's Class Reunion, which I like that movie a lot. She's in that too. Anyway, so yeah, and he gets a new patient named Murray Van Pelt, played by Marvin Kaplan, who is an older actor. He passed away like 2016. He was a lot of TV shows and sitcoms and everything. So it's a big comedy episode. Everybody in this is some kind of comedian or not. So yeah, so in comes Murray. He kind of this little pipsqueaky guy and very unassuming. And Sherwin is like, oh great, another boring patient. But no, Murray's different. When Murray gets mad, Murray literally turns into a monster. So there's a cool little transformation scene where you see like his skin ripping and the fur of the monster popping through, and it's like a ape-like creature. It's like Planet of the Apes meets Fluffy from the Crate and Creepshow, and yeah, that's basically it. But not basically it. So Sherman decides, oh, I think I'll kill my wife. So he decides to kill his wife using Murray as the tool to do away with her. And she's a pretty nice lady. Well, like I said, he's just bored with everything and he wants to get rid of her. I don't know why he just don't divorce her. Also, he keeps coming on to the secretary. The secretary just doesn't really want to be involved with him. But yeah, so he invites Murray over for dinner to meet his wife, and he's like, oh, she's gonna feed him some farfel, and it's gonna really piss him off. And he has a pretty nice time there. And the wife actually serves steak, and he's like, what are you doing serving steak? Now you're serving steak. Finally, you serve something else besides the same crap all the time. So, yeah. He kind of lets Murray as monster come out and attack his wife. So he kind of leaves. And it's the next day at his office, and he goes into his office, and it's all ransacked, and everything's messed up, and looks like there was an attack there. And he's like, I didn't tell you to take her to my office to kill her. What is this? Because he sees like the scarf, the wife's scarf sticking out of the closet door. So he figures, oh, she's dead. And then he gets a call from the secretary. Oh, Murray's here to see you. And he's like, what? How's he here? And yeah. And then there's the how it ends is another story. So Dana, as you're unpacking your food, do you have anything to say?
I like this episode. I thought this was a good spot to put it in because, I mean, you had the mutant rat episode first off, which honestly wasn't very impressive. So to have this where you have, and I thought that was great the way you described the monster that Murray becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking too, like when he was actually changing into the monster, it was sort of almost like an Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, with the ripping of it's not as well as his skin really is what rips, but yeah.
And he didn't say you wouldn't like me when I'm angry, like of course that probably would have been all kinds of copyright issues.
Yeah.
If he had said that. But I found the monster endearing though.
I can't even see. Anyway.
Rather than scary, that's why I said this was completely lighthearted.
Yeah.
And Blissful says, those glasses are making me miss a pair of red and black leather pants I had back in the day.
Oh, by the way, one of my favorite lines is when the the wife comes in, and then Murray's there, and the doctor goes, "You're alive," and then goes to Murray. What kind of patient are you?
Exactly.
How did you not kill my wife? I didn't know that was in the patient bylines when you sign up to have a psychologist.
So I know I had this pretty much on fast forward though, but I wanted to ask TJ about the blonde secretary.
Yep.
For the psychiatrist. I mean, was she really not interested in him? Was she using him?
Well, that's the end part. It's where all the reveals happen.
Okay, so I maybe missed that in the jumble. So
yeah.
Other than to say that I think it was a good spot to put this, I liked the monster that Murray becomes. Found this one infinitely more entertaining than the stressed environment mutant rat episode.
I mean, you can only go up from there.
Exactly.
It wasn't horrible. I mean, it looked fine. No. The acting was fine. It's just, the pacing was a little off, and the mutant rats took me out of it. This
was just a lot more entertaining.
Yeah.
I think.
This is directly a comedy. It's straight through comedy.
And sometimes I think that was a good thing that they did with this show, was to go the comedy route.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of always, going a really dark route with it. And it still had a monster in it. So some of these episodes don't even have monsters in them per se. I know
there's one coming up, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, they have like monster-esque type of.
Sometimes it's a stretch, it's like, I don't know about that.
When you want to do a show to show your special effects work with monsters, vampire stories are a little like, there's not much looking for, unless you have mutant, deranged demon vampires. That's a different story.
Yeah, they could have mixed it up a little bit and had that instead of just more traditional vampires. But I agree, they're not really monsters.
Again, Hammer does a really good job with their vampires, and they're just got people with teeth. Maybe because it's more sexy than, so there's something more than just. There's something more to it than just the vampires. There's like most of the Hammer movies have something sexy in them.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably why Steve likes so many of them. And the red-blooded American male or the red-blooded English male will like those types of things really well. Bliss, will you say listening? It's back to hot cocoa weather tonight. Oh, really? Not around here. It got pretty warm today. It was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Today.
It's coolish here. It's like 60s. And I think we've had a lot.
Nice. I like 60s.
Yeah, 60s fine. I also keep all the doors, like I'm in a room right now. Everything's closed in, so I'm kind of warm. So.
So I'm going to turn it back over to TJ to reveal all those or tie up all those loose ends that this episode had.
Yeah, so Murray didn't kill the wife. They actually fell in love, and which also makes the doctor annoyed. And he's like, "Well, I have the secretary." And she goes, "I have a boyfriend. I don't know why you're hitting on me. I never gave you any inclination that I was interested in you because I'm involved." So she says that, and so basically, the wife goes off. He's stuck at I forget what happens to the secretary, whatever. I don't know if she's going to stay around after that because he buys tickets to Hawaii or something for the both of them, and she's like, I don't need those. Anyway. So he's like, yeah, he gave them to Murray, and what I think that's what he did. He said, yeah, you two take these tickets, whatever. You're gonna take everything else from me since we're gonna get a divorce. So
it's like, yeah, you guys take these tickets and get the hell out of my office.
So everybody's out of there. He's just like, fine, I'm fine without you. I don't care. I don't need. And then he yells out the door, Murray, enjoy that farfel, and that's the trigger word that. That's what I forgot to mention, that the doctor implemented that as a trigger word to kill his wife, the farfel, because he knew that was going to come up. So when he got the steak, that it was kind of like, oh, this ruined everything. So he yells that out, and then Murray as the monster comes back and is like attacking him, and he's like, Murray wouldn't do this and you can't do what Murray doesn't want you to do. And then in the monster, it's the guy's voice, but he puts like a more like monstery voice on. He's like, we both want it, and he goes in for the doctor, and it ends. So you're going to assume that he kills the doctor.
And I believe, wasn't the blonde, the one that played the secretary, wasn't she in and I'm having trouble remembering if it was Tales from the Dark Side. I want to say it was Tales from the Dark Side. If it was, we covered it. But that Tooth and Consequences, or it was something about the tooth fairy comes and sees a dentist, and he's upset because all his patients hate him, and he's in love with this beautiful blonde woman, and it's the same blonde woman. Maybe it's not called Tooth and Consequences. Maybe it's called the Tooth Fairy.
I am not seeing her in an episode of Tales from the Dark Side.
Okay, so maybe it was...
She was in Mr. Belvedere for 2 episodes.
Or maybe I'm totally off base on that.
She was in The Toy with Richard Pryor.
Oh, I love that movie.
That movie you shouldn't make today.
No, shouldn't make it today, but
no.
I loved it then, and I would still watch it.
I didn't realize it was a remake of a French film from like the 70s.
I didn't either.
Yeah. It's all white people in that version, because we're not going to talk about the French people, but anyway.
Okay, so I guess we'll move on to the third one. Now, I really like this one. This one was probably one of my favorites of the ones that we watched this time, and it's Bug House. So, TJ, you go ahead and start talking. Actually, TJ's got
it goes with the shirt too.
Yeah, it does.
Because this reminded me very much of like They're Creeping Up on You, and
too.
There was a couple other movies I was thinking about while I was watching it, but yeah. So this woman goes to visit her sister in their childhood house that they lived in, or a vacation house or something like that. Because we can all relate to that. We have our vacation house.
Yeah.
And she hasn't seen her sister for a while, and they're sort of estranged. And this place is very. At first glance, it looks very not filthy, but it doesn't look. Well, it is. There's a point where she slams her hand, or she puts her hand down on the dining room table, and this cloud of dust kind of floats over everything, and I was like, oh, that's dirty.
It's not a healthy environment.
No,
especially for people with allergies.
Oh yeah, my eyes would have been watering, and I wouldn't have been able to breathe. So yeah, and she's like, "Why are you here?" And also, in the sister is pregnant also, and she's living with this guy that her sister, doesn't really know anything about until she gets there, and he's like, "Is he the one who's the father?" Well, it's not. They don't technically say anything at this point in the story. But then the sister who's coming to visit starts seeing weird things. She pours herself some tea, and she goes to get the sugar, and all these cockroaches just start squirming out, spilling out of the thing and going all over the place. And then she looks again, and they're gone. And that's one of the very creepy moments, because you're like, is she going a little nutty, or because you're first like, this place is filthy with all these roaches, but then they disappear, and there's a couple of scenes like that where there's one where she's just walking down the hall, and there's all the roaches and bugs just start appearing out of nowhere. There's a big theme of bugs and not necessarily cleanliness in this episode.
Yeah, it's not this house is not the picture of good health, and the woman's sister is not the picture of good health either.
this house possessed. You ever see that movie?
Yes, I have. That's one of my favorite, I guess, made for TV movies.
With Joan Bennett from Suspiria.
Yep.
In a very different role because she's usually glamorous, you know, because she's a old time Hollywood. She was an old time Hollywood actress from the
Right.
50s and 40s and whatever, you know. And she was on the show Dark Shadows, and so she's in this movie. She's like a bag lady, and she's like got this kind of like if you know the breather from. She looks like her skin has that kind of glossy Vaseline look that the breather had. But anyway, yeah, that's weird. This house. I mean, it's literally possessed. Yeah. So the sister meets the boyfriend who's kind of creepy and awkward, and the sister's like, "We should get you to a hospital. I mean, you're pregnant, and this is not the environment for you." And she's like, "No, he'll take care of that for me."
Mm.
And like, okay, so he's some kind of midwife, I guess. I don't know. Well, I remember the episode, so watching it, I did know. But
He
so the boyfriend
also
decides to hit on the other sister.
he does. He's very sleazy.
Yeah, and yeah, so they're in bed about to do it, and the sister pops in, and she's like, "I'm sorry," because early on they had a conversation about how the pregnant sister was kind of mad that like you take all my boyfriends away from me, and you don't really care about me, and nobody in the family love me, not even you, and but then the next day she sort of apologizes, but then she ends up almost sleeping with the boyfriend. Yes, and then guess what? The sister goes into labor, and then some real crazy stuff happens after.
As it does. Sort of
And
reminds.
everybody has a pasty look on their face, like they haven't seen the sun in months.
Yeah, even the more attractive sister, the one that comes to visit the other one, she
The one who had her hair done at least once.
exactly. But her face looks, yeah, she's all pasty faced looking.
She kind of looks like Dee Dee Pfeiffer a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Um, yeah, this episode, I mean, I liked it. It was definitely creepy. If you have an aversion to cockroaches in any way, you probably don't want to
Bugs in
watch.
general.
Yeah, bugs in general, but especially cockroaches. Definitely Tom Savini would not have liked this episode because he didn't like they're creeping up on you, and he worked on that thing episode, or he worked on that movie in general.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually, if you watch like I think it's that Screen Greats about Tom Savini, if anybody's seen that from like 85 or so. That
Mm-hmm.
came out. Fangoria, I think, put those out.
Yep.
But did they only have two of them? Because the only ones I remember are the Tom Savini one and the Satanism and witchcraft one.
Yeah, I don't think there were more than a couple. There might have been a third one. I'm not sure, but there wasn't that many of those.
But the Tom Savini one I always liked. But anyway, if you watch that, they show behind the scenes of that segment in the Creep Show movie. And it might have been showed other places too, but this is probably one of the first places I saw it. You can actually hear, and I think it's Savini in the background when the roaches come busting out of the fake body, of course. You can hear somebody go, "Oh," like that, and I'm pretty sure it's Savini at that point because he has actively said that he does not like those little critters. So, so this episode had some nasty elements in it, and it. I'm not going to give away the ending. I'm going to let TJ reveal that, but it gets really nasty towards the end of it, almost akin to the Fly remake. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But I did like the episode. I don't usually I don't have a problem with roaches and stuff like that. I mean, I know they're nasty. I don't want them in my house. I don't want them crawling across my counter or, anything like that or getting in my cabinets just because that's nasty.
In my
Uh,
center box.
yeah, right. But spiders is a different story, and I'll still watch movies about spiders. I'll watch Kingdom of the Spiders or whatever, but I always feel like the spiders are crawling on me
I'm
when
getting itchy right now thinking of
oh, maybe I better stop talking about that. But anyway, I'm going to turn it back over to TJ to talk about the ending.
Yeah, so Gene Pfeiffer's like, we're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna take her out of here and take her to a doctor. And he's like, nope, I've delivered tons of babies. Really? Oh, you're a midwife? He's like, nope, I just done a lot. So he's helping the girlfriend, with the birth, and yeah, things get a little gooey because the surprise, the bugs she was seeing, they weren't fake. They weren't in her imagination. This place is infested with bugs because the boyfriend is basically a giant bug,
Yeah.
and he's implanted his sack into his girlfriend. And this kind of gross, slimy kind of creature comes out. Um, it's kind of like other creatures we've seen throughout the last couple of seasons, so it's not really anything spectacular, but it's gooey and it works for the scene. And she's struggling with him, and he sort of like uses his tongue to kind of stab her in the neck because he has some kind of poison that paralyzes her. He's like, "Oh, you'll be paralyzed for like a day or so. Don't worry about it." And then she's trying to fight back, but it doesn't work. And he's like, "Oh, you fight back like your sister tried to." And she gets like the last bit of strength, and she grabs at his face, and his whole side of his face rips off, and there's this, like you said, it's very The Fly. This very mushy, gooey, red and pussy,
And even too the insect baby that gets delivered reminds me, although maybe not quite as gross, but when Gina Davis has that nightmare that she gives birth to a maggot,
mm-hmm.
that is what her, that creature that this woman gives birth to reminded me of. Although, like I said, not nearly as disgusting as that maggot on the Fly remake. Um, but of course, that was a movie, and this was a television show. But yet they get away
There
with
are some mealworms in this though.
yes.
Because the creature doesn't just be born; it feeds off of the mother. So after the baby thing comes out, the sister is dead, and she's like laying back, and her whole arm is just like mealworm, just all crawling all over her, and there's bugs all over the floor and everything like that, and because they're the food. And the sister wakes up the next morning like it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream. She is now pregnant with his babies, and like the sister wouldn't leave, she's now subservient or whatever to or at least whatever he's done to her with the baby. He's she no longer has any free will, and she's like, oh, one of those, oh honey, you'll stay with me, right? And he's like, oh, I'll stay with you until you're dead. So yeah.
Till you give birth to one of my insect babies, and then you'll be dead.
Bye.
But there was also another scene, kind of creepy scene that I wanted to bring up right before the sister goes into labor. The other sister comes downstairs and sees her sister with a knife, and she's planning on stabbing herself in her stomach.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty creepy for television, especially at that time. And then you kind of move right from that to the actual birthing where she gives birth to the insect. So this had a few creepy layers to it, including the I guess you'd call him an insect boyfriend, or I don't even know if you'd call him a boyfriend. It seems like to me, he just goes around to different women, and he doesn't want to have a relationship with them. He just wants to
Yeah,
impregnate
he says something like that at a point in the story. So yeah, that's
them.
basically it.
And
Because he's like, my mother, the same thing. You're gonna die. Your sister's gonna die. My mother died when I was born, and so on and so on.
right, and when he's holding the baby or the insect baby, he says, "All my children are beautiful," and that is just like that is really creepy too. So this was probably my favorite episode out of the ones we've watched so far. Now we'll have to see um, how the other half pans out. I know there's a Stephen King one in the last half of the episodes. Um, so I know I'm gonna like that one. So we'll move on to cellmates. Um, and this one, I believe, was the one that has Maxwell Caulfield.
Yep, from Grease 2.
Yeah, who I was just absolutely in love with when he was on Grease 2. I just thought he was just so adorable.
He couldn't sing though. They
That's
hired him for Grease 2,
right. Yeah.
and he could not sing. He even the song he sings in the movie, but you can tell it's severely echoed. And even though he does this like ballad love song, and he tries to do the notes, and it's like so terrible.
But you had Adrian Zemed in there too, so you know he could.
Yeah, he could sing. Everybody could sing except Maxwell Caulfield.
Exactly.
Even Michelle Pfeiffer, she's like, I'm not a professional singer. I'm not that great, but she sounded so much better than he did.
And she had the moves too. Michelle Pfeiffer did in that movie. A lot of people don't want to talk.
What's a cool rider? I like when she climbs on the ladder. That's a cool scene.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't want to talk about Grease too, though. Grease is an incredible movie too. I love Grease, but I thought Grease 2 was a worthy sequel. I didn't think it was horrible.
Well, ask critics.
Blissful says, Dana, I didn't notice Adrian singing. I thought he did in Grease 2.
He gets like a solo song in the. He sings that the T-Bird song that they have during the, and he gets a couple of the he does he's on the couple of the group songs, the bowling song. He's got a couple of lines on that, and and they're the big ballad, the big singing song at the end. We'll be together. I'm doing it still off key on purpose, but not that I could do it on key anyways. But I'm doing it extra off on key. Off key.
But guys, I promise we'll get off of Grease too. We'll go back to
let's go back to this episode.
Go back to cellmates. So take it away, TJ.
So it's about this. I lost my voice for a second. It's about Maxwell Caulfield is this spoiled rich kid with his Porsche and whatever, and he travels through Mexico, and he's in jail because he not only had some contraband in his car, he hit a kid, and the kid dies. We don't see any of that. We just hear about it. And he's got this lawyer who's trying to get him off of everything, but he's just being a jerk to everybody. He's a jerk. He's a jerk to the guards, and like, you're in a foreign country. Yeah. He's like yelling at people who were talking to him in Spanish, and he's like, I don't understand what you're saying because you're in Mexico, you idiot.
And he call them taco heads.
He's not racially sensitive, this guy, at all.
No.
He's what I call what do I usually call these guys like this? He's a dick. That's what he's called. I should get shirts that say he's a dick. So he starts talking to this cellmate who's this older guy who's like, oh, I've been here for a long time, and he's like, you're in the bad cell. And he's like, why am I in the bad cell? It's like, oh, that's where they put um, murderers and drug addicts and people who do bad things to children, which you know what he's trying to say. I don't want to say that word out loud, but you know what he's trying to say, and not just killing. What Freddy Krueger didn't end up doing until the terrible remake where they made him what they wanted to make him originally. Anyway,
Exactly.
see how I skirt around words like that. Anyway,
But
so yeah, he's like,
we got the point though.
yeah, no, I'm gonna beat it into you. I'm not subtle. Anyway, so yeah, he's making it very hard for himself, and he's even telling off his lawyer, and his lawyer's like, "I'll get you out of this, but you gotta stop being a jerk to everybody."
Mm.
And then this sort of then he gets attacked by this worm-like creature that sort of I can't remember. Does it? I gotta double check what happens. I'm not sure.
It's hard to say. I don't think I remember the worm-like creature.
Yeah, I don't.
I did.
Yeah, that's what happens. The old guy, he starts his clothes start shedding his clothes, and then he starts turning into this like white.
It looks like glue.
Yeah, glue or marshmallow fluff, like melted marshmallow fluff. Is that what he starts melting into? And it sort of has this phallic, snake-like creature in it that attacks him and then sort of disappears. And he's like, "Well, then the next day, like, where'd your cellmate, your next door cellmate go?" He's like, "I don't know what happened to him. He disappeared." And like people are thinking he's like a little crazy, but they've seen that there was a guy there, but they're still trying to make him out to be a little nuts because Anyway, he becomes more and more of a jerk during this episode, and it's like, if this was real life and he got stuck in a country like that, where he could get stabbed. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what happens, and then. Like I said, he kind of goes off on his lawyer, but the lawyer's like, "Fine, I'll get you out of here, but you're not going to be able to. You're going to have to kind of escape after you should like leave town because there's no way you're going to stand. You're not going to get through a trial and get off or whatever." Right. So they're trying to fix that. So the lawyer goes away and is like, "I'll come back, tomorrow or whatever to get you out of here." And then he comes in contact with that guy again as the sort of the creature, and it attacks him. And the next day, when the lawyer goes to pick him up, things aren't what they were when he left.
Right, exactly. So, this episode, even with Maxwell Caulfield in it, but Maxwell Caulfield was pretty much a jerk or a dick, whatever. So he wasn't.
That's usually what he does for these. He was in was it Empire Records? He played a jerk in that one.
Yeah, he did, and he has the type of. I guess he has the type of face where he could be a nice guy or he could be a real jerk of a guy. Depending on what they needed him to be. And wasn't Maxwell Caulfield, wasn't he on one of those nighttime soap operas?
Falcon Crest or something like that?
Yeah. Right? And see, my mom used to watch, and my dad to some extent, they would watch Falcon Crest and Dallas and all that stuff. And I guess that's why I was exposed to that. I didn't really. Dynasty, that was another one. I wasn't ever a fan of those things, but I kind of saw it. I was associated with it by proxy because my parents watched it. So I thought that he was on one of those shows, and Falcon Crest. That sounds correct.
Yeah.
So Blissful did say, "Dang, I didn't notice Adrian singing," but then she said, "I was watching the moves." So she was watching the moves that Adrian Zmed was making, rather than paying attention to him singing.
Oh, like I was gonna say, that was she there for the watch along for a bachelor party? He gets a whole song in that one.
Oh, yeah.
Why do good girls like bad boys?
And the Little Demon song when he
Little dreamer, little dreamer. Yeah.
and he has his shirt off. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm going well, TJ got to talk about side boob today.
I like the belly dancer.
Yeah, she did. Anyway, I wasn't a big fan of this episode either. It was just, it was there. Um, and I don't know what and maybe there was no significance of the old guy like melting and turning into glue, and unless that was just how he escaped. And because didn't he tell Maxwell Caulfield, didn't he go through this whole thing about how he had been there a long time, but he was able to, free himself or something like that?
Yeah, there's sort of an explanation at the end.
Mm. So, I did.
Dribble them for days.
I saw that. I got distracted a little bit. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just okay. So I'm going to turn it back over to TJ for the ending.
Yep. So, so the guy basically possesses Maxwell Caulfield and takes over his place, but doesn't become him. He's still himself. Mm-hmm. So it's like so his slimy form kind of enters into literally into a very bad dummy of Maxwell Caulfield's face and body. And the slime goes into his mouth and it climbs up his body. And some kind of cool. This I like, not the bad dummy, but I like it's reverse photography, which I like. They do in movies where the stuff's going up his body, but you can tell it's really supposed to be going. It's really going downwards, and they reverse the film for it. Mm. And it does it reminds me of like the stuff but it's going into his mouth, not coming out of his mouth. There's some scene in the stuff where is it Cleavon Little? Who the hell was in the stuff?
Yeah.
Cleavon, yeah. Where his mouth opens and the big chunk of the stuff kind of flails around. Mm-hmm. That sort of happens the opposite. Or kind of like, it's like Prince of Darkness when the woman gets possessed and the juice from Satan's container goes into her body. That reminds me of that a little bit. So yeah, so the old guy takes over. So it's like a fountain of youth, though the guy stays looking the same age, but he switches his body and trades off his body basically.
Yeah, it was still better than the Leif Garrett episode about the Fountain of Youth.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, so.
Yeah.
That's how that ended.
So moving on.
No.
To the Outpost.
I like this one.
Yeah, this one had some good scenes and what I would call some good monsters in it. And so TJ, you want to start talking about this one?
I'm surprised you didn't like it more because so it has two actors in it. It has Juliette Mills, who was Haley Mills' sister. Mm-hmm. She was in what's that possession movie where she gets possessed by the devil?
Beyond the Door.
Beyond the Door. She's in that, and she did a lot of movies and TV and stuff. And also Tony Fields.
Yeah.
As the guy, the guy.
Yeah, just like, yeah. You basically,
David knows his name, but yeah, he's the guy. He's Sammy Kerr from Trick or
yeah.
Treat. So.
And I was like, dang, I'd forgotten Tony Fields was even in one of these episodes. It
You
was,
can't tell it's him, real.
no, you can tell by his voice
Yeah,
the voice sounded like Sammy Kerr, you know. But no, as far as looks, it did not look like the Tony Fields that we remember from Trick or Treat at all. But I was wondering about that because um, I thought, and this is kind of going off on a tangent, but Dead Pit
that's what we do here.
Dead Pit recently did. I think it was Wes and Garrett. They did a stream with Jason Guy, that guy that's got all the movie props and all that.
Yep.
I could have sworn that he showed an autograph that Tony Fields had autographed.
Huh?
And I don't think Jason Guy got it from Tony Fields. I think it was somebody had it on eBay and it was a one-time deal. Nobody's ever seen any more of those signed pictures or whatever it was. And I could have sworn that Jason Guy said that basically I maybe I dreamed this, but I thought that he said when he was making Trick or Treat that he was dying of AIDS. So I was wondering how, because this was what, 1990?
Yep.
So Trick or Treat was 86, right?
Yes.
So again, maybe I heard it wrong, but I could have sworn that's what he said. And I thought, well, I guess he could have lived 4 years and then died. This was still considered the early days of AIDS. So, I mean,
Well,
it's possible. But if he was dying of it in 86, you would think he'd already been dead.
he died in '95.
95? Okay. So he lived a good 5 years after this
He
episode.
had, I think he had cancer on top of having HIV/AIDS.
Mm,
So I think the cancer did him in.
right.
But yeah, back then I don't think people weren't living with it. Like nowadays
Well,
they got medication that
yeah,
you can live a normal life now.
it's strange because I guess I never thought I would see the day when people would be so, I don't want to say flippant, but it's almost like it's the common cold now because
It's like with COVID. I mean, COVID's over now. Did you know that? No more masks. You can go to the hospital now and not wear a mask.
but have you seen those commercials, TJ, about the people with HIV? They're like, I just take
Yeah,
a
I can't help
pill.
to see them. They're all over the freaking place. When I'm watching a stream, they'll come up or whatever, or something that when I'm watching on my TV, I'm like, how does this have anything to do with the Bob's Burgers? I don't know why is there whatever the drugs are with
And
yeah, yeah.
I've heard people say, not people I know personally, but people, the actors and actresses that they basically say they've had full blown AIDS 3 times and they take medicine and now, used to that would be a death sentence. If you had full blown AIDS, you were going to be dead soon. So
Magic Johnson is still alive.
yeah,
And
now
he's healthy.
Magic Johnson was the exception to the rule for.
Also, he was rich. He could afford probably those secret drugs that they weren't giving out to normal people back then. So,
Yeah, but I just want, because I thought that's Tony Fields, and I was just like totally confused. Like if he was actually dying whenever they did Trick or Treat, I was like, man, he must have been a pretty strong dude to last as long as he did. And then technically, as TJ said, the cancer got him and not the AIDS. So But anyway, moving
Back to
on.
the outpost.
Yeah.
The signpost up, outpost up. That's not the right. No, it's signpost. I was gonna say I was gonna do the Twilight Zone thing, but it doesn't make sense. The outpost up ahead. No, it's not. Anyway. And so anyway, yeah. Well, let's talk. Yeah, I forgot. We're gonna talk about the episode. I like it. Also, it's a two-person play basically.
Yeah.
And they play off each other really well too. Like, it's too bad he died. He was pretty good. So anyway, it's Kara Raymond she works for like an outpost, a company that places these outposts on different planets and throughout the galaxy or whatever. And she's sort of like the ones that she goes there and checks to see if everything's okay and with the workers and stuff like that. It's a mining corporation. And she visits one of the facilities on an uninhabited planet so they have these mutant people. So let me explain the mutants. They basically, a person who's dying can be sort of reconstructed into another form, where they sort of they add sort of like, I guess, living material to your somebody's body. So there's like some human in there, but mostly you're just like a creation, a genetic creation, basically. And they wipe your memory so you can't remember your past life, and you basically run these mining companies, and they also make them so they're like they're not affected by like the radiation or stuff like that on other planets, so they can just kind of do their job, and they're basically considered like not human, like they have no rights basically. So anyway, she comes there to sort of see why his production has been very low, and why he hasn't been doing his job, and she's trying to evaluate what's going on, and she's telling him, look, we can just take you out of here. We can destroy you, and we basically own you. So they're basically slaves, and but she's one of those very by the book and very about her job, and no matter whether it's right or wrong, but she also has, you can see she sort of has some feelings and some emotions. This is a point where he seems like he's sick or something, and she's like, oh, are you all right? But then she kind of goes into comments about how well, I'm here it's about doing the job, and if you're sick, we're gonna have to take you out of here and get rid of you, and that kind of thing. So they're having these conversations about life and existential stuff, and I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't know the exact dialogue. You'd have to watch it, but it's very interesting. I think. And like I said, they play well off of each other, and she's good at becoming like very like, she's emotional, but she's holding it back. But then she goes right into sort of like I said, corporate shill mode, where it's about the job and whatever. And then they start talking about their lives, and like he doesn't really remember. And then she talks about her husband, who he did another job, I think, within the same kind of company, and he was a pilot or something, and his plane had crashed, and she had the choice to keep doing her job or go to him, and she decided to do her job. And she had said she's saying to this guy, she's like, he would have done the same, and we had that kind of situation where that we're fine with it. And there's a point where he asked, do you think he would forgive you for that? And she kind of gets defensive about that. And he talks about how he's sort of hearing voices, and the voices are one of the reasons why he hasn't been doing his job, and he's hearing these voices, and they're telling him he's not sure. He thought they were just in his mind at first because of the process they put him through when they changed them from what they were to what they are now. Yeah, and then we end up finding out what the voices are and why she seems to have a little more of a connection to him than she would probably any other time in this situation with her job. So
Yeah. I did like that Tony Fields was in this, and surprised, because he doesn't look like you would remember seeing Tony Fields and basically anything else.
he looks like an alien John Goodman. He's very big and and like the process of whatever they do to make the bodies or whatever, his skin's starting to fall off and
Right. But like I said, you basically, if you watch Trick or Treat, you know Tony Fields' voice, and you know that voice that he gave to Sammy Kerr. So if you've seen that movie, then as soon as he started to talk, it was like, oh, okay, that's Tony Fields. And basically, as TJ says, this is a two-person play, pretty much, because they're the only two actors there. You've got a woman actor or a woman actress and a male actor, and so you saw Tony Fields' name, so you know he's not the woman. You're pretty sure he's not the woman, and so the only other person it could be is the guy that shows up near the beginning of it. But I didn't hate this episode, but I didn't love it either. I liked that Tony Fields was in it. I thought that was great. But it just didn't. It just didn't do it for me as far as a monsters episode, I guess I should say. So I was just somewhere in the middle on it.
well, the monster isn't who you think it is.
Mm.
Well, I'm sorry. Were you done? Did you have anything else?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Okay. So there's a point where he's talking to her, and she has this little locket with a photo of her, and one side's her and one side's the husband. And like I said, she has some kind of feelings that she doesn't usually have in a job like this, and he also has some recognition of the photo. So we find out that these voices he's been hearing are aliens on the planet, and they're calling to him to sort of, I guess it's sort of like, maybe they're calling him to go to heaven, maybe? It seems like something like that. Because this place seems like it's a purgatory where they're where they're waiting to decide before they go to heaven or hell or wherever they're going to go. And she's wondering why she's having these feelings about this, because this should be just a routine job situation. And she's yelling at him to, like, you have to do your job, and he's like, I'm going to find what these voices are from. She's like, no, you have to come back here. And he's before he starts walking away, he puts something into this little like chamber where he turns it and you open it up. Kind of like when you go to like pick up your medication at the CVS, and the little tray comes out and stuff, that kind of thing. So he's going away, and she's like, no, you have to come back. You can't leave. And he turns to her and he says, I forgive you. Mm-hmm. And she goes and opens the thing, and it's the same photo locket thing that she had. So it obviously that's her her husband, and they had lied to her. She's like, they lied to me. They told me you were dead and you weren't dead. Which also brings up another thing. Are these people really, because she's like, you willingly become this other form, but is it willing, or do they just force you to kind of like Terminate, not Terminate, like RoboCop, where they just picked up his body and was like, oh, we'll make this guy into a cyborg. What, and then look what, that didn't work out in that movie either.
No, it did not.
So I think this is the best part of it for Juliet Mills. I think this is her, like, this best part is when she starts, tearing up and crying and calling out to him, and she's like, I'm sorry, and I love you. No, she didn't say that, but we're alluding to that. And she's like, don't leave me alone, because I think that's what I mean by the monster isn't him or her, it's the loneliness is the monster of this story. Yeah. And I think it's a little deeper than what's going on, but I think maybe it should have been a little shorter. I don't know.
Yeah, just a
little. That it might have brought home things a little bit tighter and stuff if they, cut out a little bit from it.
I agree. Anything else you want to say about the Outpost before we move on, TJ?
No, I mean, you really feel bad for her at the end. Like, you sort of don't like her a little bit during it because, like I said, she's short with him a lot, and she gets really agitated and bitchy about things, and it's like, So this end part is like, you really start feeling for her, and you're like, you warm up to her by the time, but it's pretty much.
Yeah, it's kind of too late.
Yeah, too little, too late.
So that brings us to episode number 6, The Hole.
There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza.
I enjoyed this one too. Because I don't know if everybody would say it has monsters per se in it, but it has a type of monsters, is what I'll say at this point, that they show up not too far into the episode either, I don't think. But I'm going to turn it over to TJ to start talking about it, and I'm going to step away and take my second dose of antibiotics because that's what they put me on to try to kick this sinus infection. So I'll be back.
Yes, go for it. So it's about these soldiers in these Marines in the Vietnam War, and they have a Vietnamese guide guiding them through these sort of like, through the Vietnam basically, and they come across this tunnel system, where they get trapped in sort of this maze, and they just kind of go around in circles, and it's very Blair Witch as far as like you're in a even the forest is big, but you're in a closed-in kind of situation where you're just kind of going around in circles and you're not really coming across anything. So they come across this Viet Cong. I don't know if it's a prisoner because he's just sort of there. They come across him and he's got these like scratch marks on him, like he was not that it almost looks like he was attacked by a werewolf. But we're not getting it. Werewolves aren't. I can say that werewolves aren't a part of the story. But yeah, so it's basically they're kind of the Marines are trying to figure out what's going on, and so the guys trying to translate what this other person's saying, and he's saying these things about evil. And there's evil here, and there's evil in the walls, and but we don't like they were saying. We don't. It doesn't. We get to the monsters pretty fast. So he's they're like, well, what did the guy say to you? And he's like trying not to say it because he doesn't want to sound like he's crazy. But he tells them, yeah, there's evil in where we are, and the evil is coming out of the walls. So we find out there are zombies in the walls, and these are pretty cool zombies actually. It's a lot more. It's more. It's very easy comic skeletons, but they shriek and they're very creepy and they're very like intimidating. I think these are pretty good zombies. They're not your typical zombies, but I think they work out pretty well in this episode. So it makes it really not scary. I mean, I haven't been scared for several years, but I think. Oh, so I want to get into a couple of the actors. So Ahmad Rashad plays one of the sergeants, and that's Felicia Rashad's ex-husband.
Yep.
One of the zombies is played by Ray Boom Boom Mancini, who was a boxer back in the 80s and 90s. And the other guy, Anthony Pagan. What was he in? I wrote it down because I remembered it, but I forgot it. He was in Zombie 3.
Ah, interesting.
I have to watch it again. I haven't seen Zombie 3 for a long time, so I couldn't really say.
I think I've seen it, but it's probably been a while since I've seen that one too.
I mean, I vividly remember the head in the lunchbox, but that's. So yeah, they get attacked by zombies, and the zombies just pick everybody off one by one. And the zombies show up about 14 minutes into the episode, so that's like
about the halfway point.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, they're running through. It's basically a maze, and they eventually come back to where they were before, and it's like, well, we can't get out of here. It's down to two of them, and Ahmad Rashad, he's more of the alpha male in the situation. He finds like a way out because he can see the sunlight, and the other guy is just like sort of lagging behind, and he ends up getting attacked and killed by one of the zombies, and then Ahmad Rashad kind of climbs through. Also, I want to go back to I like the zombies. They come out of the walls. The way they come out of the walls is cool. It's very very Fulci-esque. This is very easy comics Fulci-esque. This whole episode, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the reason why I liked it as well as I did, because it's not like it had like super exceptional acting. The acting was okay, but I think what I really liked about it was the monsters, the zombies, in this one.
Well, one of the zombies is played by George Umberto Quevedo. I don't know if that's Italian or Spanish or what that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Umberto sounds Italian, but anyway, yeah. Like I said, the zombies are cool. I like the way they come out of the walls. Like I said, very Fulci and very zombie. Maybe even a little bit Templar Knights from Night of the what the hell is it called? Night of the Night of the Seagulls is the third movie.
Oh my gosh!
It's the first movie.
Steve would kill me because he likes that kind of, the Blind Dead movies. Is that what they?
Shoes of the Blind Dead, was that the first one? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a Ghost Galleon, the one that's on the boat.
Yeah, exactly. But I think Steve likes those early ones. I know he's watched some of those. I think wasn't Jumpin' Jack Taylor, wasn't he in one of those Blind Dead movies?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to ask Steve again because I could have sworn that he was on one of those movies.
Steve!
Yeah, I'm not gonna wake him up now. Now, Steve was not to go back to the poor dog issue, but Steve takes things really hard. I mean, I take them hard in my own time and stuff. Like I said, whenever I stop doing stuff, it's gonna hit me. But as soon as, because I had to call Steve while he was at work and tell him about Brandon because he asked me to keep him, posted, and I thought I better call him and tell him. Um, but as soon as he hit the door, he was bawling his eyes out. And then he had to unfortunately take Brandon's body to the vet because we're having Brandon cremated. So
Yeah.
Steve says we're not burying any more of our dogs. Our first dog that passed away, Sam, he's buried out in the backyard. But Steve says the thing is, if we pick up and move houses, this sounds gruesome, but you can't dig up all your pets and take them with you to the new house. I can take the stone, and stuff that's at Sam's spot. But anyway, Steve just he nobody copes with death, whether it's of a person in your family or an animal that you're really close to. But
Yeah.
Steve really has a hard time with especially animals. I think he takes it harder than people, and I hope nobody takes that wrong. But
No, you know what he's saying.
yeah. So anyway, moving on. Well,
Anyway, Amari Shad, he gets out, but then the zombies attack him and pull him back down into the underground, and that's how it ends. So no one gets out alive. Everybody dies.
Yeah. But again, I liked the episode. I think TJ liked it, or we liked the zombies in it. Blissful says, I don't have any of these. She said she found zombie ice cube trays. Of course, I had to get them. Or maybe I do have some. I have some that are like brains, and I usually get them out around Halloween time. And then maybe I do have zombie ice trays. I'm going to have to look. See, I buy so much crap, I can't remember what I've got. So I may very well have similar ones to what Blissful got. But moving on to Small Blessing, which, believe it or not, has David Spade in this episode.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny.
And Julie Brown.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
And Kevin Nealon. There's a lot of famous people in this.
This is kind of like a who's who.
Yeah.
Episode.
And there's the woman, the next door neighbor. I forget who the hell she is. She's somebody too. This is a weird episode. It's very weird.
But I did like it. It was off the wall and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there was something I just really liked about it. I don't know if it was because it kind of reminded me of the It's Alive movies.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
And I was just feeling nostalgic that way. And the baby in this made me laugh too.
Yeah, it's not scary, though. It's sort of supposed to be kind of.
Yeah. But I'm going to turn it over to TJ to talk about it a little bit.
So this is another comedy. This is a comedy. This is a comedic episode. Yeah, it's about a mother who's sort of frustrated with raising her baby, and she's like contemplating, why do I have this baby? And he won't sleep and whatever, and she's like, she says something kind of like, if I didn't have this baby, the baby starts making a noise. She's like, oh no, honey, I didn't mean that. Mommy's just tired because you won't sleep. God damn it. And so yeah, David Spade's the meat delivery. He's a meat delivery boy. He's delivering 8 pounds of chuck, 12 pounds of pork chops, and 3 pounds of hot dogs. And he makes a comment, you guys must like the barbecue, My terrible David Spade. This was before he was the David Spade.
Right. Exactly.
But it was after he did Halloween 2. So.
Well, he didn't do Halloween 2, though. Dana Carvey did that.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're the same person. Come on. They're both short blonde guys who are comedians. They're the same guy. I mean, come on.
I thought for half a a second, was David Spade on Halloween too? And then I was like, no, that was Dana
He
Carvey.
didn't get a line anyways. Who cares?
But I get what you're saying, TJ. It's like it's basically the same dude.
Yeah. Except one's buddy with Adam Sandler, and he gets to be in all his movies.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, yeah. So this baby's very hard to take care of. Also, there's a little side story about there's a in the neighborhood. There's somebody. There's a killer in the neighborhood, and Kevin Nealon comes home, plays Julie Brown's wife. I mean, yeah, who plays Julie Brown's husband? Julie Brown's the wife.
It's getting late at night, guys. Just keep that in mind.
It's almost 10 o'clock. God. Anyway, yeah. So Kevin Nealon comes home. And he's like, "Honey, you didn't lock the door." She's like, "Oh, I forgot." Like, okay, there's a murderer hanging around our neighborhood, but we'll just not lock the doors. It's very serial mom, where people aren't paying attention to what's going on. But anyway, so the baby, we find out, isn't a normal baby, because at one point the baby's gone. Like, where'd the baby go? Oh, no, you had the door open and the baby's gone. Oh, and then they look up. The baby's on the ceiling, and the baby has these fangs, and he's slightly deformed looking, and yeah, it's like It's Alive meets the Garbage Pail Kids kind of thing.
And toss in Mikey from Look Who's Talking. There's something about this baby that
but it looks like an animatronic Chucky type of situation. It does not look like a real baby.
Right, exactly.
So they think that the baby might be the one that's going around eating family pets and attacking people in their houses. So it's sort of like what's going on in our town and with this family situation. And I noticed it has a lot of creep show angles. There's a lot of Dutch angles in this, and it adds to like when some crazy stuff is happening. And I was like, oh, this is very like they're going back to more like EC comic creep show vibes, like Tales from the Dark Side was almost a creep show series. There's a point when they're talking about the baby and how he's got claws and fangs and stuff like that, and they mention the mother starts worrying. She's like, well, we remember Aunt Darlene's ears, and then Kevin Nealon goes, well, she should know not to lean over the baby's crib.
Right.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out what's going on, and does the husband go out and search for the baby? Is that what happens? I picked my mistake.
I wanted to say he did.
Small blessings. What's that? Oh, there's also a point where so the kid just eats meat all the time, and she wants to make it kind of exciting for him. So there's a point where she's making a swan out of the hamburger. It's this big giant swan.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, at first I was like, what in the world is she using? Oh yeah, it's ground beef. It's hamburger meat.
Yeah. Oh, then the next door neighbor comes over. She has not seen the baby since it was born. Well, obviously they're keeping it from everybody because it's a scary ass. We don't know if it's going to kill people kind of baby. So the baby's she's like, oh, I really want to see the baby. So Julie Brown takes her upstairs, but we also see that the father is outside with the baby. So I don't know. I guess because Julie Brown sort of like keeps her from going too close. So I'm guessing that the baby is not in the crib, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the baby's outside, and Kevin Nealon's trying to get the baby, So, yeah. I mean, then as he's searching for the baby, the wife's trying to get herself, composed, and the neighbor's gone, and she's like, she took a shower, and they finally get the baby to kind of calm down. What happens to Kevin Nealon? I can't remember. I forget what something happens, but I can't remember what happens. Anyway, I'm actually looking at I actually have the video up, and I still can't figure out what's going on. Oh. That's why I keep looking over here. I'm like, okay.
So, TJ,
oh, okay, that's what happens.
I was going to say, you may have mentioned this, but doesn't Julie Brown one time, isn't she building like a cage to put the baby in, and the husband doesn't care for that at all, does he?
No. Because he's like, no, the baby's not, there's nothing, he wouldn't hurt anybody. But she's like, no, I don't know about that. There's a lot of signs that, because at one point I think they find like a dog collar with the piece of a dog still attached to it.
Uh-huh.
So they're like, I think he's been playing with the next door neighbor's dogs, but not playing like Monster Demon Baby playing what they would do with that. All right, I remember what happens now. Julie Brown's feeding the baby, and she goes into the kitchen, and somebody comes into the house. And it's not David McCarvey, it's David Spade that comes into the house. Guess what? David Spade is the killer that's been going around the town causing havoc with people's houses. And he comes in and kind of tells her everything that's been going on. He says something that I can't remember. He wants to be a famous serial killer, so he can't just attacking old people that live in the neighborhood isn't what he wants. He wants to attack, as he says, hot women.
Yeah.
And Julie Brown's like, she's like fighting for her life. She's like, no, look at me. I look terrible, and I'm in a bathrobe, and I didn't do my hair. And she's like, you're a hot mom. Don't worry about it. I'm going to kill you and your baby so I can be more famous as a famous killer. But things don't go perfectly what he wants to happen to him.
Yeah. You guys might notice that I just put Julie Brown's website in there. You can actually purchase stuff from her website. Like, does anybody remember that she was in Bloody Birthday? You can get an autographed picture of her from Bloody Birthday for $50, guys.
Wow, 50?
Yeah, 50.
I want an Earth Girls Are Easy poster. That's what I want, Si.
Interesting.
She's in that. She wrote the movie.
And see, I love Earth Girls Are Easy.
She wrote the movie. She wrote a couple of songs. There was actually a song she wrote called Earth Girls Are Easy, which is, I think it's in the movie, and that's what gave them the idea to, let's do a movie.
Uh-huh.
So and so I think she wrote the script, and she wrote some of the music and some of that. Also, she starred in it with Gina Davis.
You can get Earth Girls Are Easy Blu-ray, but I don't think it's signed, for $30. Oh, you can get it. Oh, if you add an autograph to it, you got to add $20 to it.
Of course, it's stupid.
So for $50, you can get her to sign a Earth Girls Are Easy.
Oh, David Spade does make a joke that I don't know if it was a direct reference to Julie Brown or not. He's like, I got to kill hot people. I need some hot victims, like a prom queen. And she had done a comedy record in the 80s called The Homecoming Queen's Got a Gun.
Yeah.
So that's have to be that too close to not be a reference to her song.
Yeah, I would say so. That has to be. And you can get, looks like you can get 45s of that.
I heard her album that she put out in like 1987.
Lizzle said, I loved her show on MTV, especially the New Kids episode.
Just say Julie, bum, 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 bum. Yeah, that was the theme song.
Yeah, I remember, but wasn't there another, like, I guess, VJ that you watched?
Downtown Julie Brown.
Downtown Julie Brown. I actually remember Downtown Julie Brown more than I do just Julie
She
Brown.
was in an episode of the Say Julie show where they hated each other because they both their names are like they both have the same name, and I'm more famous than you are. No,
So, yeah, I just want to say I really, really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was fun. It
yeah,
was spooky. The baby did not look realistic in any way, shape, or form, but neither did the It's Alive babies if you were really looking closely at them.
yeah, but they tried to hide them. In this one, they just show you the baby. They know how bad
Yeah,
it is, and they're going to show it to you because it's funny.
it looked like sometimes like when the baby would pop up outside a window or something, and
It's like they threw it or something.
they wouldn't show all of the baby. It was almost like they had a head and maybe just this part on a stick or something. They were just,
Probably.
bobbing it up and down. Maybe they did to save money. I'm not sure. But I did enjoy it. It made me laugh, and like the David Spade character, I don't know that it was kooky and everything, but I think it fit this episode. If you had put David Spade or that type of character in some of these other episodes, like if you'd put it in the whole episode about with the zombies, I don't think that would have fit. Have David Spade be a Vietnam War soldier or something. No.
The baby is worse than the baby in the Dawn of the Dead remake.
Oh. Blissful says, was the baby more disturbing than the one from Twilight? I couldn't say because I never watched any of the Twilight movies.
They did it. I didn't watch them either, but I know they did like a totally CGI baby.
Oh, good.
Because I guess they wanted it to look like both of the what's her face and what's his face from the movies. Yeah, I don't even know the hell they are. The one who played Joan Jett. What's her name?
Yeah.
Not Catherine Mary Stewart. That's Stewart, right? Isn't her name? What the hell is her name?
Stewart.
Kristen Stewart. That's it. Who is not related to Catherine Mary Stewart at all, unfortunately. That would have been cool, but no.
But no.
They could have done a remake of Night of the Common, and she could have played Regina.
That would have been funny, yeah. Okay. So
yeah, David Spade's the killer, and
I thought it was
the baby saves the day.
I think it was unique having David Spade be the killer.
Yeah, because you don't expect him. He's just the goofy meat delivery guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like meat. This is an important food group.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when Kevin Nealon comes back in, she had fallen asleep and she's laying on like the ground beef or whatever, and he goes, "Honey, you're sleeping on ground beef." It's just the way he says it, like, "Honey, you're sleeping on ground beef."
Okay, so
enough baby talk.
Anyway, we're gonna move on to the last.
I didn't know there was a dead baby in Train Spotting. You just spoiled that for me.
Oh, I don't think I've seen Train Spotting, so
I know it's British. Or is it British? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Is it Irish? I don't
know. One of those
things. Some ish. It's some kind of ish.
So moving on to the final
episode
on this.
Language.
This has Will Wheaton on it.
Guys. Will Wheaton and Joey from Friends.
Yeah, Joey from Friends. I knew that guy, the other guy looked familiar. But when Will Wheaton, just as soon as he started talking, I was like, he didn't even have to turn around and face the camera. I was like, that's Will Wheaton in this episode. And I used to have a huge crush on Will Wheaton in his younger days. When he was on Stand By Me and stuff like that. Even
Star Trek.
Well, I only wanted to watch those episodes because Wesley Crusher was on it, and he played Wesley Crusher. So,
Then he got old when he was in the Big Bang Theory as himself.
oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, he was, and he's written some books too. I have the Audible version of one of them
Mm.
that I've been listening to a little bit. But anyway, this one's called "Shave and a Haircut, Two Bites." So I'm gonna let TJ talk about it a little bit. Did you not like this, TJ?
Boom, boom. I didn't think it was kind of boring.
Yeah, it wasn't a real. It was another one of those that almost seemed too long.
Also, maybe I watched it while I was tired, but Will Wheaton and Matt LeBlanc aren't good in this.
No, they're not. I mean, I
Some of the
really
line readings are not emotion. There's no
yeah,
emotions in them, and it's like,
flat. Yeah, flat.
yeah,
Right across
exactly, yeah.
the board. And it didn't even like. And I know Will Wheaton's a better actor than that, so I don't know whose fault this was.
Maybe he didn't want to show up Matt LeBlanc, and
I don't know.
because there's Matt LeBlanc not being Matt LeBlanc from like the comedies, he's trying to be like a serious character in this, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
So anyway, Charlie Brewster, Will Wheaton, because this reminded me of Fright Night. Because
Yeah.
the two of them are talking about vampires and all these weird stuff are going around in towns and people disappearing or whatever. And Will Wheaton has a theory that the local barber has something that is a vampire.
Mhm.
Because he's like, do you know the swirling thing that's outside the whatever they call it, the swirling red and white that's outside of the barber
Oh,
shop? At least back in the old days, I don't know if that's I don't think they do that nowadays unless it's like trying to show that it's an old timey.
right.
And he's like, the blood in there is it's actually blood and it represents that they're vampires. So they decide we're gonna sneak into the local hair cuttery and we're gonna expose the vampires. And Matt LeBlanc doesn't believe any of it. And like I said, it's like he's more because Evil Ed didn't really believe. Because Charlie Brewster was actually, he knows that they're vampires. So I don't know if it was intentionally for like Fright Night, but it reminded me of Fright Night so much because it comes so close to it. It's not cool and hip, but it's
It was made after Fright Night, so
yeah.
it possibly could have been an influence on this episode.
It definitely wasn't influenced by Lost Boys because there's nothing Lost Boys.
No.
There's no Diane Huist. There's a Will Wheaton, but there was no Diane Huist.
Exactly.
Anyway, so they break in there. And then the two owners of the shop come in, catch them, and kind of, hold them there, kind of prisoner, and like, William's like, no, I'm sure you're vampires, and so they basically go through the list of vampire lore, and they debunk everything. Like, we're looking in them. Look, you can see us in them. Then they have these deep, I guess, the Transylvanian type accents, I guess, or they're Italian. I don't know. I can't tell. So they're like, they're debunking everything about, what about the crosses? And then the guy holds up, see, I have a cross. He goes, if you had, because he was, so Will Wheaton has been following these guys. So he goes, if you had been following me on a Sunday instead of a Monday, you would have seen me go to church. So he's like, okay, so I guess I was wrong. You're not vampires. Well, can we just go now? I was like, nope, we're trapped. So he traps them. He kind of fastens him to one of the barber chairs and takes a slice out of his throat. He puts this little reservoir thing around his neck, and then he puts a cut into his throat, and the blood starts flowing. And we find out what they really are.
Yep.
and I might as well just spoil it.
Yeah.
There's
Go
this.
ahead.
The best part of it is the creature.
Yes.
And the creature's on the box set, like one of the pictures on the box set. It's this. It looks like a big. It looks like a cross between a slug and a brain, and well, it's got. It looks like it can barely open its eyes.
Yeah. Looks
But it
like.
also reminds me of one of the alien creatures from Invaders from Mars, the remake, not the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems it's this ancient god that. So Will Wheaton's like, oh, when he's talking to Matt LeBlanc at the beginning, he's like, oh, they go in with these packages or whatever, and they come out with nothing, or they come out with these small bottles or whatever. So we find out that this is an ancient creature, and they're not vampires, but they use the blood. So the creature, which way was it? They get the they bring blood to the creature, and then the creature gives them these little. I guess they sort out these little vials of blood, and each vial extends your life.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a vampire thing, but not really. It's a creature, not a vampire. So they still grow old, but you live longer, and I don't know if they live forever, but they definitely live. Like they get old, obviously, because these old guys are still doing that. So yeah, so they bring in blood, and then they take back, and then they get blood in exchange. So at the end, there's a bookend of the story. It starts off with Matt LeBlanc, I guess older Matt LeBlanc with the cheesy mustache, and he's getting a shave, and then we go into the story, and then it ends with the both of them at the barbershop. I guess it's years later, and they both have cheesy mustaches or something. I guess when you're really young, you get a cheesy mustache, and it makes you look older. I guess that's why they did it. I don't know.
No idea.
Yeah, production. We're gonna make these baby-faced tweens look older. Slap a mustache on them. It's okay. They look better than the mustache that the guy in Sleepaway Camp ends up having at the cop at the end. These actually look like mustaches, sort of.
What they call it, the Groucho stash, or
that guy literally had tape over his upper lip colored in, is what it was. Anyway,
it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. It ends with they both are getting a shave, and they both have the big cut on their neck from where they sacrifice their blood to the blood creature. I don't think we really get a name of what it is. It's just an ancient creature. So the creature was the best part of it, but other than that, it's
yeah. If I want to watch Will Wheaton, I'll watch him in something.
Will Wheaton.
Okay. So yeah, I think we can move along to. Oh man.
I love the title of this is best part of
it. That's the best thing about it, really, because I hate to say it, but this episode is lame. I'm sorry.
For you ladies, there's some beefcake in it.
Yeah, there is.
Isn't he literally named Beef or? No, his name is Billy Hunkle, and they call him Hunk.
So,
yes.
They literally, did they not, TJ, have a version of the Young and the Restless theme playing in the background of a lot of these scenes?
Okay, now that you mention that, there's some kind of, yeah.
And I think that did nothing to make this episode less lame.
No. I mean, it's trying to be a comedy, but
it's not very good.
There's a couple of okay parts of it, but mostly it's
yeah. So
I think it's the hunk dude and the woman are okay. It's the guy playing the main doctor dude. I don't. There's something about him. Is like he's not that exciting an actor. I don't know.
Didn't like the hunk dude. I thought he was just very like and I guess he was supposed to be like not very smart, but he was.
No, he's like a dumb Rambo type of
Yeah,
character is what he's supposed to be.
and there's one big scene in this that we'll talk about, but not yet, where it really shows how dumb he is. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and let TJ talk about this one first off.
Okie dokie. Mm. So it's these two brain. Are they both brain? They had two brain doctors. One's in a wheelchair, the husband, and then the wife, sort of the I don't know, the main doctor. I don't know. They're both science. They're like Frankenstein type of doctors. They do brain things with brains and that kind of stuff. And this is where the comedy ensues throughout the episode. So anyway, they're married, and the wife's ex-husband comes back. The wife's husband, who was presumed dead, who was a mercenary, and his plane went down, and supposedly she thought he was dead, but no, he didn't die. He was in hiding because of some lame reason. He was a soldier of fortune. His plane went down 7 years ago. And this is a funny part. He's talking about I ended up on this island where with the natives, they worshipped me like a god. So I was worshipped as a god by fun-loving naked people. Is what he said.
This doesn't have very good dialogue either.
No, I mean that was like a funny line, but other than that, it was just kind of that was the only thing that I found interesting to write down for a line. So yeah. Meanwhile, like I said, they do these sort of weird experiments. So they this bird sort of attacks the ex-husband, and we find out it doesn't have a head because the wife has come up with some kind of device that you sever someone's head and you put on this device, and they sort of live without their head. It was confusing to me. I don't. Did you understand it more than I did?
No, I don't think so. This episode was also a convoluted mess, by the way.
Yeah. So she just wants the husband to get out, the ex-husband to get out, even though he's running around with his bandana and oiled up, shirtless body, which I found that funny. But anyway. And he's like sort of emasculating the husband because the husband's in a wheelchair, and he's like, saying things about. I don't know if he says specifically about you can't get it up anymore, but he's alluding to like I'm a man and you're this not a man comparison kind of situation. So Hunk ends up shooting himself in the head with a gun. He didn't. Did he? Was it the husband wanted him? The current husband wanted him dead, basically. So he gives him this gun to show him, and he's like showing him something with the gun, not noting it's loaded, and he ends up shooting himself in the head. Which, right? Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, I believe so. But I mean, who would be? Only this guy.
This guy
would be dumb enough to put a gun in his mouth and pull the trigger. I'm not just going to trust somebody to tell me, it's not loaded.
The husband of the wheelchair is really trying to get him to shoot himself in the head. Like, okay. So they end up, like the bird, replacing his head with this kind of, looks like a, I don't know. Does it look like? It doesn't look. Kind of reminds me of like the football gear, the shoulder pad type of things, but it just like fits like it's like more like a collar, like a bib type of thing, like a dickie. It's like a dickie. It's a scientific dickie, is what it is.
Didn't it look like it had like a metal? What was that silvery part on top, though?
It's yeah, it's like this weird metal contraption thing. Oh, and they put a little, and it's got like little lights on it that light up.
Yeah, definitely does look like a more pumped up Frankenstein type of thing.
Yeah,
Like if the Frankenstein monster had lights on it, then it probably would have looked something like this.
and it's funny. So there's a point where the headless body is dancing around with her, and they're doing close up shots where it's actually the guy, and you can see in a couple of shots his head, like you can see like from here down, and I'm like, you guys weren't trying to cut that out at all, were you? But then there's also scenes where they're dancing where you can see the body, but it's like it's chroma keyed in. You know what chroma key is?
Yeah.
Where it's like it's a light type of thing where you'll film the plate and then you'll add the actual motion in, but then it'll take out parts of the like it's cheap early CGI
Yeah.
green screen. It's like a green screen
Like
kind of thing.
like green screen before there was a green screen.
Yeah. So yeah, and like there's a point where the body falls down because it's the electronics are getting screwed up or whatever, and it's an obvious mannequin from earlier on being the guy's body. It's like so cheesy,
It's
and like I don't know if this is intentional or like with the baby in the last one, but
I don't know. I think like I'm gonna stick with what I said at the beginning of the stream was that
yeah,
they obviously ran out of money. They used too much money the last season, and they kind of blew all their money at once, and now they don't have any left for this final season. So we get cheesy stuff like this.
yeah.
But I I stick by my original thought that this is a lame episode, and I didn't much care for it. Um, I mean, I like the small blessing episode a lot better than I did this one, and it
Yeah.
didn't have very good special effects, but it wasn't lame like this one was. It's just so bad. But anyway, I guess that's all I want to say about that one. I'll turn it back over to TJ to reveal the ending.
So yeah, so the body's having sex with the wife, and she's getting into it, but then it malfunctions and it tries to kill her, and they like throw water on it, and it starts this really bad flame effect happens, and it sort of short circuits and falls back, and the other husband gets killed, or so we think. But if you're paying attention, you can see where it's going, where the wife puts his head, the husband in the wheelchair's head on Hunk's body,
Mm.
but she still calls it Hunk. So I guess it's still Hunk. It just has her other husband's head, which
But
okay.
it's weird when you see
Yeah.
that shot of it, the whatever this thing is, this Frankenstein monster type of deal, laying in the bed, and it kind of pans up to his head. It's just so crazy. Oh man.
And then the end where the husband who now has the attached head comes up and starts giving her a massage, and it pans up and it's the other actor dressed like Hunk, but the body is like this chubby old guy who's not this guy who's in really good shape, and it's like, okay, you did not try to hide that at all. So like,
They
okay,
didn't try to hide a
he
lot.
starts spazzing because I guess the neck's trying to get used to the neck and the head thing. And I'm like, it's over. Thank God.
Yeah.
It
So
ended.
I I'm thinking that neither TJ nor I like this episode, especially. Um, which I'm going. Blissful says shirtless Will Dana. Well, no offense to Will Wheaton's physique, but that wasn't what attracted me to Will Wheaton. It was
He had a
more
physique.
his like the characters he played, I guess, was he like in Stand By Me, he played Gordy, the sympathetic, the shy writer guy, kind of
Mm-hmm.
modeled after Stephen King, obviously. And I
What?
just spoiler for you there. Um,
Every writer in a Stephen King novel is Stephen King.
is
Even if it's more
modeled
than one, it's always Stephen King.
but anyway, I guess I like that quality that Will Wheaton had in a lot of the movies and stuff like that he was in. Um, and even I like, I didn't generally watch those Star Trek episodes, but like I said, when I found out Will Wheaton was on the damn show, I would watch it because my cousin Heather, she's a big time Trekkie, and she told me, she said, you know, Will Wheaton is on this, and he plays Wesley Crusher. I was like, holy cow, I got to start watching that now. But anyway, um, Blissful also says, with beefcakes, I know enough male strippers to completely ruin the illusion.
Well, interesting.
Yes, Blissful, intellectual compassion. That's a good way to term that. Okay, so moving on to the 10th episode, The Waiting Game, which is yet another vampire themed episode. So I don't know if TJ's is by this point in time as tired as I am of these vampire episodes. It's like, can't they do something else? But the vampires are getting tired now, because they're not. I don't feel like that, at least with monsters, I don't think they were trying to do anything really unique and different with each one of these vampire episodes. But so I wasn't a huge fan of the waiting game either. But I'm going to turn it over to TJ to talk about it a little bit.
So there's a nuclear war, and most of the world is blown up, except for these couple of groups of soldiers. There's like two in one bunker, the ones who set off the at least the strike in the America that from what we see, and then they're like, well, there's no, everybody's gone, it starts off a little lighter. Like we meet the characters, and one of the characters is sort of this goofy guy who just wants to go to the beach and whatever. But then nuclear war strikes. So I mean, it's right there. And this was like 1990, where like I don't know when the nuke scare stopped back in the 80s, but like was it still going on into the 90s, or did it stop earlier?
I thought it had stopped before then, but maybe I'm wrong.
Or maybe some time had passed, so this was the right time to do a nuclear war episode of a TV show.
Perhaps.
So, yeah. So it's Captain Levitt and Lieutenant Tyler who are left in one faction. And then there's Lieutenant Maureen Knox and her captain Garza, and she's like they it's like a couple of days later, and they're like they haven't gotten anybody on they're like they haven't gotten any communication with with anybody else in the government or anything like that. So these two other groups find each other, and they're not too far from each other. Which I guess for the episode, it makes sense that they're very close, but I think it would have been like more dramatic if they were far away and they couldn't get to each other, because they're kind of trapped right now because the nuclear fallout, and there's a point where they're like, yeah, they're in nuclear winter. So Lieutenant Gazer is losing it. So he goes out because he wants to find his wife and his kids because they're at the local what is it local like one of was it the naval? Is it a naval base or something like that? One of those big bases areas. Because they're in. I mean, I'm gonna say outposts because we already watched that episode, but they're in like the little outposts or whatever. So she's like, "Oh, should I go out and get him?" I was like, "No, he just ran out into nuclear winter. What are you nuts? Stay behind. Don't go near the door." Like, meanwhile they're hearing weird noises, and she's alone, and the two of them are still kind of like stuck, obviously. And you hear these kind of loud howls and screams coming from outside, and there's at one point one of them sees some movement, but they don't really get a good look of anything. So there might be people out there. It might just be the wind or whatever. Then Lieutenant Knox decides to check out the noises at the door, and guess who's there? Captain Gaza's there, and he's in a kind of calm, "Hey, you should let me in. I'm fine," kind of like, something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And she, what the hell happened to her? Let's see. She starts talking to Tyler, and they sort of bond a little bit. Like, I don't think they fall in love, but I think they she tells him about like her high school teacher or whatever, and he talks about, because he wanted to go surfing, so he talks about surfing and stuff like that. So they're sort of hitting it off, and then she ends up getting attacked, and by her captain and whoever might else be outside, but no one else really knows we know what's going on because we've seen it, but the other guys in the outpost, they don't know what's going on exactly. And then Knox shows up at their door and is sort of tempting him to, "Hey, come out. There are other people here, and things are fine out here." Like, okay, sure.
I've seen enough things like this to know that I would not fall for that, or I hope I wouldn't fall for that. No.
These people haven't, because we're in a world where these movies and TV shows don't exist. Anyway, and she's in silhouette, and she's in another one of those very calm, inviting voices. And she's convincing him to come out. And then his Captain Levitt holds him at gunpoint. He's like, "No, you're not going out there. We don't know what's out there," and blah blah blah. And she doesn't sound right or whatever. But he's like, "No, I'm going out there." So he ends up going out there, and guess what? Everybody's a vampire.
Yep.
We see her fangs and her figure. I like how she's sort of standing out there before you see her reveal. She's sort of like trying to be sexy to invite him, and like she got the pointed foot, and like, "Oh, like, come and get a bite to eat, honey."
I tell you what, TJ's representation of the characters in this episode is more interesting than the episode.
Thank you. My laser disc almost fell. Anyway,
Oops.
So so he gets we find out that there's a vampire, sort of the main vampire we get introduced to, because he's like, "How did you survive?" He goes, "Well, he helped us survive," and I guess the vampire bit all these people, so now they can survive through the radiation in the nuclear winter. Also, nuclear winter makes it night forever, I guess, or at
Evidently.
least until it clears up. I don't know how long that lasts. Probably forever. I'm gonna guess. If everybody in the world is gone, there's nobody around to try to. I don't know how you squelch radiation like that. Like anybody knows how to do that? I don't know, but
Yeah.
um, yeah. So everybody gets turned into a vampire except for the one guy, and then that's
Thank you.
and then he's like, well, so you start hearing beeps at the door when the guy's like realizing that he's the only one left now. So it's the other guy. He's trying to do a passcode to get into because you need his passcode and you need the other guy's passcode. You need the two head people's passcode to get into the structure. So he's doing 11111 11111 2 1113, and he's like, "We have all the time in the world." And then the guy's sort of cowering inside, holding his gun and holding his head, and it ends with the vampire's trying to get to him. And so it reminds me of 50 movies. Like it reminds me of 30 Days of Night. It reminds me of the Vincent Price one. What's the name of that movie?
Oh, man.
The black and white one.
Golly.
It was based on the story. What was it called?
PJ's going to have to look it up first.
Yeah, because I have no memory. It's too late. It's too late in the night to remember things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's too late for anybody to have memory about this stuff.
Last Man on Earth.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, it was very Last Man on Earth. It reminded me of Salem's Lot with the people outside beckoning people to come and let them into the house and whatever.
Yeah, just not nearly as good as.
Oh no, not as creepy or as well done. No, Toby Hooper did not direct this.
No, he did not.
I don't know what he was doing in 1990, but it wasn't this.
No, what was he doing in 1990? I'm not sure. Yeah, so
it reminded me of a lot of good movies, but it
yeah. I don't have a whole lot to say about this other than yeah, I don't know. Just it's a subpar vampire episode. And
Yeah.
like TJ just said though, there were things in it that reminded you of other much better movies um, than this episode of Monsters. So, yeah, you want to say anything more about the waiting game, TJ, before we?
I just found out. So the sort of younger soldier, played by Doug McKeon, was in "I Spit on Your Grave, Vengeance Is Mine."
Ah, okay. For you fans,
Has anybody seen that? Has Steve seen that one?
I believe so.
I don't believe they still were making "I Spit on Your Grave" sequels in the mid 2000s, like 2015 that came out. Like, okay, yeah. Other than that, there's nothing.
I think we both have seen that one. Sadly enough.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So anyway.
Oh, and the head vampire, he just sort of has radiation scar on one side of his face to show that that's as much as they had for the effects. They had enough money for some teeth for about 6 or 7 people, and they had some shit to put on his face for a couple of minutes.
I'm telling you, they used all their money up during the second season. Okay. So moving on to the next to last.
This episode is really good. I like this one.
We're going to talk about. Yeah, I did like this one. Sin Sop. Yeah, this one had a lot of good things, and I think the special effects were pretty good. This one as well. So yeah, I'm gonna let TJ talk about this one a little bit, and then I'll add a few things, and then we'll give away the ending to you guys.
Okay, so I did want to say something about somebody, but now I can't remember what it was. Oh, so there's an actor in this. Charlotte Brooker. She plays the lady at the beginning, the older lady at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She was on a show where Nick at Night. Remember Nick at Night way back when?
Yep.
They were trying to make their own TV shows because they were just showing reruns. They did a show called what was it, Honey I'm Home, which was like a take up. It
I
was like
think
a
I remember
50s.
that.
It was
Yeah.
about this 50s family that gets transported to the present day,
Mm-hmm.
and they have this remote control that changes them from black and white to color.
Yeah.
And it lasted for like a season or two, and it was like a cute little show. But anyway, so it's about this. We have a reporter, Laura. We don't know she's a lawyer right now, but there's a lawyer reporter, and she's looking into this case with this supposedly a guy who has this machine that can take away your sins.
Mm-hmm.
And she thinks it's a big scam, and she's just going here to expose it. So she's a 1990s Karen, and she's a
Pretty much, yeah.
So she meets brother Roy, which is why I'm brother TJ.
Yep.
And he's this little like pipsqueaky Southern boy who's Helen has come to have her sins washed away for her. And he hooks you up to a machine, sort of, and it's supposed to take your sins away. So Laura's there, and she's making these really kind of they're funny jokes, but they're very like she's being very passive aggressive,
Yeah.
and he's just thinking, oh, she's just being fun, and isn't she fun? Don't you love it? Isn't she hilarious the way she's talking? And she's just like insulting his country bumpkinness and whatever. So we don't know he's a country bumpkin, but he sounds like he is. I mean, come on.
But something about
No offense to people who have
yeah, right.
other accents.
when people get kind of hooked up to this machine and this guy, whatever, the sand extractor or whatever, it almost has did you think so, TJ, an orgasmic effect on them?
Oh, what? Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean that's kind of the first thing I thought. I was like, holy cow, it's like, are they having their sins extracted or are they having good sex? So it's one in the
I think because of sexuality sort of being a sin, as far as you would think, I think it's a joke, an in joke that, of course, they would be making those weird sounds because it's sort of like, yeah, they're having things removed instead of.
The one woman is
graphic.
The first woman is she's like, just oh God, and just carrying on like, I'm not going to go really deep into it because, like TJ says, we don't want to be graphic here, but that's what I got out of it anyway.
Yeah, so they all go up to, so they're like, oh, I just want to. So the reporter, she's like, I don't want to spend the money on the full thing. I just kind of want to observe. And he's like, well, that'd be $7 for observing, as long as Helen's okay with this. And she's like, oh, I don't mind. I'm fine with that. And he starts explaining that, like, well, it depends on how strong your sins are, and how deep and how many there are, or whatever. And she's like, so is it like he's like, so it's, what was it? Is it like by the pound? And he goes, more like it's by the gallon. So she's like, okay. And then she takes him up, and like you said, so it's this, so there's this body, like, laying down in a like sort of sitting up in a like a I don't know, is it like like when you go to the hospital and you're like and you got your feet, you're getting examined and you're in one of those like whatever it is that you get your feet up and you get your tilted back or whatever. So and he's connected to this machine that it's sort of like some hosing and stuff, and it goes into this big tub. And what you do is you grab. So this is the sin distractor, the sin extractor, and you hold the man's hand who just kind of sitting there. He doesn't respond to anything, doesn't talk, or it's just a kind of a lifeless looking body until someone grabs its hand, and then it starts sucking the sins out of you, and it starts convulsing, and at times
it's sort of like Grandpa from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He just looks like a corpse, basically. But you give him a little blood, and he just,
yeah.
He's energized for a little bit.
Yeah, and like you said, she sort of gets orgasmic, and then even the I don't know, it doesn't have a name. It's just the sin extractor is he kind of gets into it too, and it's like he's very like. So she sort of faints away, and it's like, oh, it takes a lot out of you getting all your sins removed, and you got to relax, rest a bit, and the reporter, she just doesn't believe any of it. She's like she's basically telling he's a fraud and this is a bunch of crap, and I'm going to write in my paper how much you're just taking advantage of people and whatever. So he takes the lady out because she's a regular there. She goes there all the time, and there's a strange man. We don't see him right away. We sort of see his playing with his lighter. We see his shoes. We hear his voice, and he doesn't sound like a nice guy. Nope. And the brother is like, hello, brother, how are you? And he's like, oh well, what kind of he doesn't know where he is. He's like, what kind of place is this? Well, he's explaining to him the situation, and the guy's just like thinking it's just a bunch of crap. Meanwhile, upstairs, Miss Reporter decides she's gonna touch things that don't belong to her. Mm-hmm. So she grabs the sin extractor, and you think that other woman had it rough? This girl is she has a lot of sins to have removed from her. And this so the guy is sort of in the chair is like he's bulging and it's this is old timey bladder effects. It's very Beast Within type of.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's just pumping out this. So the sin is represented by sort of a green slime, basically. So this thing's just like it's having a real hard time. And like I said, she's like, she's like.
Yeah, it gets worse.
Like, wow.
She gonna light up a cigarette after that.
I'm surprised she didn't. So he finally, the brother gets her off of there, and it's like, oh wow, you had a lot of sins. And she's like, yeah, I feel amazing. Like I feel like I've had this weight lifted off of me, and I feel like not pure, but I feel cleansed is what she's getting at.
It almost reminds me of that the Tales from the Dark Side episode. It all comes out in the wash, where Mr. Cropper was having Chow Ting do his laundry.
Yeah,
but it took away his guilt and stuff like that. So it was sort of like he was washing away his sins, but he had to get new shirts and new pants and all that, and it kind of backfired on him. But this sort of reminded me of that episode a little bit.
At one point, Brother Roy is like, "Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to pay $100 the way these." Because the usual is like $20. Like, no, you got a lot of sins to take out. So, meanwhile, we got the guy, this new guy, who sort of pushes himself upstairs. And he's like her earlier. He doesn't believe anything's. This is a bunch of crap, and he's being very short because Brother Roy is sort of doing his sales pitch, but this guy is not having it, and he's just roughing him up because a little pipsqueak guy. He's gonna. I'm a tall, manly man. I can do whatever I want. Like, well, screw you, bitch. So
TJ'd be on this episode. Screw you, bitch.
Yeah. Anyway, excuse me. Lost my throat there. So, yeah. So the guy's just basically going to cause trouble. He's trying to sort of like force himself on Laura and Brother Roy's trying to protect her, but like I said, Brother Roy's not that strong, so he's pushing him to the ground, and he's trying to explain to him about this. He's like, "What is this thing? And what's going on?" And he's trying to explain to him, and he's like thinking he's just trying to bullshit him, and he's trying to put him on and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, dude, you obviously have a huge chip on your shoulder. And he's like, yeah, well, I broke all 10 commandments, even some extra. So anyway, this is like this big kind of kerfuffle that happens between the three of them, where he's just beating up poor Brother Roy, and he's throwing Laura around. Like, okay, we get it. You pick on little guys and women. Oh, you're such a tough guy. Anyway, he goes to investigate the sin remover, and he grabs onto him. Or actually, the sin guy, he's going near him, and the sin guy grabs onto him because I guess his sins are so like aromatic and tasty that he just has to be close to him and he can feel them. So he grabs onto him, and earlier on when he was grabbing Laura, he was getting all puffy and everything like that. Now he's getting like deformed, and it looks like a bat. It looks like Eddie Murphy was in the in the Nutty Professor movies. That's what it looked like. Yeah, and it just keeps sucking all the life force out of him, and or all the bad juju or whatever. Until it just takes all it can, and it just basically the machine's destroyed. And the guy's just kind of laying there dead. And then he's dead. He's got green slime pouring out of his mouth and whatever. And if you can't figure out what happened at the end, I mean, it's pretty obvious that there's now a new Sinsop, and it's the guy who's the murderer, crazy guy. Because that was we were asking earlier in the episode about the guy who was the first guy there. It was like, who was he? Oh, he was an evil, crazy man, and his lot in life was to now remove other people's sins, and now this other guy is now taking over for that because
so this new guy must have been worse than the original guy.
Yeah, but they did get an upgrade because the other machine was kind of breaking down, and like he's like he didn't want the guy to touch it in the first place because he's like, well, the machine isn't draining like it used to. So now business is booming because obviously Laura wrote a great review about his business, and she comes in and she writes a check for $700. So obviously the prices are doing pretty well too. So
right,
and it's the reveal at the end. You're like, oh, she goes, how's your new machine running? And he's like, works like a charm. And it goes and it shows that the guy is now the new guy. So yeah, I like this episode. I think it was fun. I like the acting. When you really hate a character because he's that evil, you know that the actor's really good. So I know. As you can tell, he really pissed me off.
And this was almost like a EC Comics type of deal where
Yep.
somebody that is really, really bad or has done something bad, or they're just, a rotten apple, So that this guy definitely is a rotten apple, and he gets his comeuppance at the end of the episode. So it might be a little bit of a predictable episode, but it was not a bad episode. I was like TJ, I enjoyed it. Um, Acting was decent in it, and all of that. I thought I understand why they did it that way, especially after TJ explained that, but the whole orgasmic quality to them getting their sins extracted was just sort of funny. I found myself laughing at that. But other than that, the episode was a really good episode in the grand scheme of things. I don't know. Would you call TJ? Would you call the sin sop? Would you call him a monster?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off with just sort of this pale corpse-looking thing, but then when he gets sort of deformed, and I mean, obviously the real monster is the guy who comes in.
Right.
But like but we actually had a creature, so to speak. So it didn't turn into a giant cicada, but it was.
No. So that brings us to the last episode of the night.
A holiday special.
Yes, it is a holiday special. It takes place at Christmas time. So this is a new woman. So there was a familiar woman in this episode.
You know who she is, right?
She's very familiar, but I was sitting there trying to figure it out, and I was falling short of figuring that out, TJ.
Curtains.
Okay, I thought it was the chick on Curtains. I did.
She's also was in a couple of, at least one more Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah.
She was in, which one was that? She was in the Old Acquaintances. She was the two witches that come back.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, she was. She was one of the.
Linda Thorson. That's her name.
Yeah. But yeah, you would definitely remember her from Curtains.
Yep. Okay. So, I thought this episode was interesting. Might not be the best of the episodes, but it wasn't a bad episode by any stretch of the imagination either. So I will let TJ start talking about this one.
Yes. So I'm just going to come out right off the bat and tell you it is a Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not much hiding it. It pretty much starts off as this rich old, not rich. She's not old actually. This is a rich woman, Jessica, whose husband is dying, and she just wants his fortune. Mm-hmm. I think it's his nephew, or if it's not his grandson, it's his nephew, who has like a homeless shelter, and he wants the uncle to sign off and kind of make sure it's when he passes away, it's something in his legacy besides buildings and mini malls. It's actually something to help people. But Jessica just wants the money. She wants all the money. She married a rich guy who I don't know if he was dying when they met, but she probably was hoping that he was going to die. She's very that much. She doesn't come off that way right away, but she slowly realized how bad she is. Like she just wants. She even says, "I want it all. I'm not giving money to this dude. It's not he's not related to me technically. I mean, I guess he is technically, but we're not blood related." So anyway, the guy, was it Thomas? I think is that the. I think that's the old guy. Yeah, Thomas. Um,
Sounds right.
he didn't look familiar, but yeah, he's in Ghostbusters. Oh, he plays the Archbishop in Ghostbusters. Oh,
Okay.
the one who comes in and he's like, "Hey, Larry, how you doing?" with the Irish accent there. That's who he was. Okay, now I know who he is. Okay. Um, people can't tell by that impression who the character was. I don't know. So, and Thomas is like, I think she's supposed to be the monster, but he's got pustules all over his face. It looks like he has like extra, like he looks like he has acne on top of chicken pox, on top of cold sores, on top of whatever. He's doing gross. It's all pussy and like I was actually kind of like turned off. I know it's special effects, but like they did a pretty good job, I think, of making it look, kind of real. I don't know if whoever did the effects might have went to Tom Savini school, but by this time Tom Savini was doing pretty like realistic type of.
Mm-hmm.
I forget when Two Evil Eyes came out, but that woman corpse who was supposed to be cut in half by the pendulum thing, that looked like a real woman, and it wasn't. So I mean, anyway. So so we have this sort of doctor that comes in, and he ends up being like the Marley, where he's like, you'll be visited by spirits if you don't change your ways, and she sort of goes into like a dream world where it's also very like sharp angles and like misty look, and shadowy stuff going. And know what I noticed? So we have a scene where sort of like the dead come to sort of scare her.
Mm-hmm.
I think they reused the corpses from the Vietnam episode because they looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
Did you kind of?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah.
Because they're basically skulls with some stuff around them. I mean, they worked in that, but here it's like, okay, we already seen these.
Which when they start to reuse corpses or zombies or whatever,
yeah,
they're running out of money somewhere.
Yeah. So basically she gets visited by the horrible ghost, and then she starts, and then in the dream her husband dies, so he comes back as a ghost and is sort of taunting her and is like, if you don't change, you're gonna end up like this. And then she transforms and she looks like a corpse and a hat, and a witch. It's like a cross between a witch and a corpse. And they sort of dance and spin around, and they keep spinning and spinning and spinning, and she's like, oh. And then she keeps spinning towards the mirror, and she's like, oh, it's so hideous. And then it's like, if you see the error of your ways, this will change. And she's like, oh, I promise, and blah blah blah. And then she wakes up, and she's in the hospital room, and the husband is all of a sudden, he has no sores or anything. He's all of a sudden chipper, and it's like he's never been sick. And she goes to the doctor. It's like magic, and he's like, it's like a miracle. Okay, because you have to be, magic and miracle are two different things. And she's like, if you go back to the way you were, and her hands change, and they become sort of gross and again, and she's like, no, I promise, no, I'll change or whatever. And then they change back, and then everybody's happy, and she's learned her lesson, and they signed the papers, so the building will now be for the homeless people, and the nephew actually gets a sum of money instead of just because she wanted to give him nothing, so now he's giving her. She's like, all right, he's getting like 60% of everything or something like that. So with the guy being not dead, I'm gonna guess that no one's really getting any money at this time. So.
Yeah. which is kind of strange that they would even bring it up.
Yeah,
But
but they're just trying to cap off the episode. But yeah, I thought it was all right. It's one of the not bad episodes,
hmm
and Linda Thorsten's pretty good, and
yeah,
the doctor's pretty good at sort of being like, you don't know if he's first of all, I'm like, is he really there, or
right.
is he a real ghost, or is he actually the doctor? But um, yeah, and like the effects on the guy in the hospital bed and on her were pretty good, even though they've reused those. I'm pretty sure they've reused those corpses. I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so too.
but
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I liked the episode. I liked them throwing in, a holiday episode in there too.
la
Um,
la 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 la
you
la.
got to do that every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a more depressing episode that took place at Christmas time was, of course, the alien episode which I wish that episode could have turned out better. Why couldn't they have let the alien live in that episode?
I don't know. What about the Grither? It killed the two parents.
Yeah, I mean that,
Smashed their heads together in front of their little kids.
but I don't know. They maybe kind of deserved it, telling a real scary story to their
I
kids
mean,
on Christmas Eve.
kids can handle it. We
Yeah,
watched worse stuff when we were that age. Come on.
yeah, but we're all different. We're a different breed of kid. We weren't regular kids, or I wasn't a regular kid. I'll say that. Um,
Well, those were late '70s, early '80s kids. They knew what they were doing.
so, guys, we have reached the end and it's less than 4 hours long because usually
Wow,
we
I know it's not midnight. It's still
maybe
today.
because Dana had to watch all the episodes on fast forward. Maybe that's why I didn't blab as much about the episode.
Aw. Well, a
Uh,
couple of episodes they were. I was just wanting to get through, like the haircut one. I was like, let's just get through this one.
yeah, just get through it.
There's not much going on here. So
So next Wednesday, barring anything happening, then TJ and I will finish up um, the second half of the last season, the third and last season of Monsters, and I'm finally going to get to talk about one of my favorite episodes in Monsters, which is the moving finger episode, which is based on a Stephen King story.
mhm.
We'll see what TJ thinks of that one next week. Um, Again, I want to remind everybody that I don't know if I'm going to be doing anything tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I may take another day off because stuff catches up with you sometimes. So, but Friday, of course, will be the first edition of my drive-in movie night. Um, we're going. I'm not going to be streaming because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. I'm not going to be streaming the movies, but we're all going to be watching, for those that want to participate, Halloween 3 and Creep Show together. These drive-in movie nights will be kind of like the watch-alongs, pretty much. We'll all watch them together. If people want to come on here live with me, they can. Um, and I haven't heard from Darcy, the mail girl. I was hoping to be able to get her on here live with me. But there's still time. I mean, maybe I'll hear from her tomorrow, or maybe she'll just show up because I sent her the StreamYard link. That would be really cool if she just showed up backstage and I could add her. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that because I know, with uh, Steve tells me they film all these episodes of The Last Drive-In in advance, and they probably do. But since she's having some time off from the last drive-in, perhaps maybe she wants to do her own thing and take a vacation, or maybe her and Joe Bob are going to go out on tour while, you know, just promoting the show or whatever. But
She's going to A&E events,
yeah, that too.
AEW events.
So we got that coming up Friday. Now Steve was going to do something, but due to the unfortunate events of today, I think he's going to hold off on that because he told me today or this afternoon he wasn't going to do anything Friday. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do my thing because I need to keep my mind busy so I don't sit there and think
Yeah.
about stuff. So, and then Saturday, of course, will be another watch along. You'll be like, boy, Dana, you're really, pounding the pavement with these watch alongs. But
I like you're doing non-horror things too.
yeah, yeah. So uh, this Saturday will be happy birthday to me. So I expect TJ to be here because at least to watch it, but because he mentioned this one. Um, but
I
if
know.
if you're busy, TJ, I'll understand. I'm just kidding you.
I'll be able to sneak in. I don't know if I can come on the stream, but I'm gonna.
Okay, cool. May 28th, I'm still, which is Sunday. I'm still planning on doing Dazed and Confused early because at 10 p.m. Eastern time, I'm gonna, barring again anything happening, I'm planning on being on the prom night fan commentary with the Dead Pit Boys. So I'm gonna have a full weekend.
Now
Um,
you got to talk more on their streams because I noticed that you're
that,
sort of down and they do all the talking and you don't want to like you come in every once in a while, but like you want to say more. I know you want to
I
talk.
I do actually,
And
TJ.
I'm sure they know you're not going to monopolize the conversation. I
I'll
mean,
be honest with you. I do want to say more, but I feel like when they have several other people in there, I don't want to be that person that looks like they're talking over everybody, or every time somebody starts to speak, you you
no,
clap that
I know.
person. And I think that's probably why I'm a lot quieter when I'm on theirs or when I'm on anybody else's stream other than my own. Um, Now, when I do my own, I probably do talk over people. Sometimes I don't mean to, um, but I guess I feel more comfortable because I know I'm kind of like holding the reins on these shows, and
Yeah.
I'm not on the Dead Pit ones. I mean, that's CK and Uncle Bill and Garrett's thing
No, I know.
much. So
But there are spots I'm like, no one's talking. Someone should say something. It should be Dana. Dana should say something.
I think I always am afraid that, because I'm looking for those spots.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid when they come that I'm going to start talking and then somebody else is going to start talking. And, everybody's always nice. Nobody's like been nasty or anything. But
Yeah.
I just hate to feel like have you ever watched a stream though, TJ, where it seems like one or two people really are trying to monopolize the conversation. They talk over everybody. Um, and
No, it's happened.
I'm not gonna name names or anything, but you
No,
guys,
I'm not. No, no, no.
Blissful brings up a good point. She says, "You guys had a whole lot without West coming in to insult monsters."
Well, then the money said, "Oh, you guys look tired. You've been watching too many episodes." That's another reason I had the sunglasses on earlier. I was like, maybe I should hide my eyes. Do I look tired?
Well,
Also, how come you don't wear your hat when you do their streams?
I did wear. Well, I'll tell you one big reason why I don't normally wear my hat. Now, when I did the history of the Evil Dead on home video with the guys, uh, I
I gotta
mentioned.
watch that. I forgot you did that.
Oh, you hadn't watched it yet?
No,
That
I forgot. I totally forgot that you guys did that.
and I normally don't wear my hat because when I'm on somebody else's stream, I of course wear the headphones so we don't have any sort of echo or anything.
Right.
Um, but with the big headphones, I can't fit my hat on there right. So
Okay.
this particular night, when I did wear my hat on that Evil Dead one, was I was using my Echo buds. I was using these earbuds. So, um, what I probably need to do is make sure I have my ear or my Echo buds charged up every time I'm going to do one of these things with them, and
Mhm.
that way I can wear my hat. Because Wes asked me that time, he was like, "Where's your hat at?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I meant to wear it tonight." Because as I said, this has become part of who I am on the streams. Just like
Yeah.
Garrett has his headband, you know,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
other people have different things that kind of has become a hallmark of their particular streams, and
When I see photos of Garrett without it on, I'm like, who
it
is that?
looks
Oh, it's
it looks
Garrett.
great. Yeah. I'm not
His
used.
hair's dark, and it doesn't look that dark with the. For some reason, I don't know why. I would think his hair's lighter with the headband on, but it's just.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you're talking about
He
because
seems like he's blonde, but he's not really blonde. So
mm-mm, mm-mm, no.
maybe I think of him as Billy Zabka. I think that's why.
That's hilarious. Well, uh, Garrett does like a lot of that 80s stuff, so the William
I,
Zabka thing would definitely fit in. Oh, but anyway, guys, I should take advantage of us getting done with these episodes a little bit earlier, um,
yes.
and get my ass off here so TJ can get off here too and we can get some rest. But I think I'm stalling again because I don't want my mind to start thinking, but I know that I've got to get off of here. But so again, I want to thank TJ for being on here with me for another uh, live stream talking about, I guess, horror anthology television shows. Did we ever decide, TJ, if we were going to do Friday the 13th, the series after this one?
I was trying to figure out if they have full sets. There was like I think I saw there was a set for like what
Oh,
$20 or something like that. But those ones aren't they? Were they a half hour or were they? I think those weren't they hour long episodes?
I think
45
they
minutes.
were. I think they
All right,
were.
so I might need more time to go over those. I first have to get copies of them first.
Well, which we could take, we could take a little sabbatical from doing these after
Yeah.
we finish up Monsters, and we could both, um, you know,
If you want to continue
go
with that,
through.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah, I would like to do it.
Thank you,
Uh,
Texas and Blissful.
yes, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I need to get my button gear also. Speaking of Texas, and be watching some John Waters stuff because we were supposed to
Oh
be
yeah.
doing the John Waters stuff for y'all coming up soon. So I got to get in gear for that. And it's not, me and Texas have already had this discussion. We're not going to be covering as many movies at one time as like Kelly and I did with the Hitchcock stuff. I had to keep narrowing it down with Hitchcock because, it was getting where we were covering way, way too many movies at one time. And that was my mistake.
No, it helped that you both didn't watch all of his movies. So because I
Yeah.
remember Charlie was like, "Yeah, I didn't see that. Nope, I didn't see that. Nope, I didn't."
And so we gave just quick
So that helped.
not,
That made you shorter for you.
synopsis. It did. I think if we had watched every single one of those, good Lord, those things would have been super long.
Alfred Hitchcock Presents. You can watch all of those. You can watch the Alfred Hitchcock Hour, which was on something else. So.
Yes, it was. But I want to thank everybody that was in here tonight in the chat. Or if you were just watching, I don't want to say lurking because that sounds like it's got bad connotations. But like I said, you guys don't have to come live on the stream. You don't. have to necessarily chat. If you just want to come here and just kind of hang out, see what other people are putting in the chat, listen to either what I'm saying or me and TJ are saying or whoever's, you never know who's going to pop in on these things either. Because when I did Eyes of a Stranger watch along, guess who popped up? Uncle Bill. He just showed up backstage. I added him. We had a good time. We talked about the movie, but we talked about, other stuff as well. That is why I like to put the invite in the chat so anybody that comes in here has an opportunity to, click on it. And, like I said, as long as you aren't an asshole to the other people that are on here or something big like that, then I'm going to let you stay. Um, so anyway, I think that's all I got to talk about tonight. So on that note, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everyone on the flip side.
Jazz
Y'all,
hands.
you have a good night, TJ.
You
Everybody else,
too.
you have a good night.
Night, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.